Yes, it's time for Type 40 Live, your live stream Doctor Who magazine show, back on your view screen, Rumble, X, YouTube and Facebook as ever, talking all things Doctor Who, and joined by a live chat full of fellow friends, fans and companions just like you. We're talking all things Doctor Who, from right the way back then to the here and the now, but one specific destination when there's a multi-doctor story, not a multi-doctor story. We'll find out. Back to 2013 once more, and that time the 80's Doctors rebooted themselves. Do you remember that? Yes, it's playtime once again. Share your memories, and we're catching up on the news. As always, it's the Big Who, Type 40 Live. And it's all looking it's all gone very aqua, hasn't it? Aquamarine here in the TARDIS console room this time for this much requested edition of the show, literally stretching back years. People have been asking us to talk about that. So we're finally going there with a few stops on the way and lots of tangents and rabbit holes, I don't doubt. Hello. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, welcoming you back, maybe, or it could be you're new here, in which case, welcome aboard. Make yourself comfortable-ish, because you never quite know what's coming. We'll find out who you are in a little while there from the comment section, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X, and I'm going to bring on everybody else, and we'll get caught up on where they're at and where the Whoniverse is at as well. Sounds like a deal? I think that's usually how it works out. It works out just fine. Just got to remember which one of these I've got to yank or sink my fingers into. I think there was some sort of biocircuitry to one of the panels on this, but I can't quite remember. I can't quite remember how it works. Charlotte, have you got any idea? This is your era. Any ideas?
Well, from my memory, in a Capaldi episode, they literally had like a fleshy type thing, didn't they?
That's the one.
And they literally just put their fingers in it. Like that's the way I can describe it.
It's the gooey bit.
I think it was a Dalek episode. So that's all I know. Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome back. How have you been? Were you like me and you were just starting to enjoy the sunshine and the blue sky, and then it just snapped back again, like Thanos, and the rain and the wind and the sleet? Yeah. It's all back.
Only British people will understand. I had the fun of not wearing my big coat for a couple of days.
You think to yourself, can I put this stuff in the wash now, or should I maybe wait a couple of weeks and send it off to be dry cleaned or something? But no, straight back out.
We've literally had 2 days of nice weather this week, and then it's gone straight back to windy and rain and horrible.
Hey, but the sun's out behind us. Look, we've got the warm sort of lava of the Matt Smith, the latter part of the Matt Smith era.
Yeah, when he went a bit darker with all his colours.
Yeah, I always forget about this title sequence. They changed it quite frequently during that time, and I always forget where the TARDIS console rooms sort of overlapped and what changed when. But then I'm very easily confused. Confused? Where am I? What's going on? I know that I can rely on the rest of the panel to bring me up to speed on what's going on where. He's got a brand new mic this time, so he's running that in, as well as heaven knows what else. What heresies will leave the lips of the lead hooligan himself, Mr. Luke Walters?
Not much this time. Been chilling. Wales nearly won, but on a better note, England lost rugby. We nearly won before everyone in the chat starts rinsing me about it. Wales nearly won and should have won, but the main thing is England lost, which is even better.
So the cliche is true. Then it's far more important to you that England lose than Wales win.
Oh yeah. Obviously, Cardiff was full of Wales and Scots, and the biggest cheer was when Ireland beat England. It was fair enough. It was a good day was had by all, put it that way.
Oh, we all love one another, really, don't we? Here we are, though, Luke. This TARDIS. Did you ever get to go around on one of their set tours when this was the current model?
No, I was going through I was in my university phase then, so I was kind of I gave up
cool for Doctor
Doctor Who and picked up bottles of vodka and copious other things instead, and had the time of my life. So I can't remember it, to be honest. Yeah, it first come around in The Snowmen, with that god awful title sequence from season 7B, which was the clip art sequence. Is dreadful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the worst one ever. And then wasn't it didn't they use what was it? The psychic link where you do put your hands in they used it in Listen as well, didn't they? For Clara to go back to what's his name? Danny Simpson. Is it Danny Simpson? For when he's
Danny
a kid
Pink,
and Listen.
I think
Danny
it was.
Pink, Mr. Pink.
I think
Who's
Danny
Danny
Simpson.
He's
Danny
McFly.
Simpson was a member of I was going to say Busted, but you're probably right. Oh, so many memories, so many TARDIS console rooms, and so little time. Let's bring on the other guys as well. Next, I'm happy to say that he's back to get ready for the sport references to go positively stellar. It's David Milling.
Hello, everybody. So there you go. Yes, hello, everybody. Hello in the chat. How are you all?
We're going to have to officially start calling that the Kirk hello.
Yeah, okay, the Kirk hello. Well, I was in the chair this morning at 9:30 with an almighty big rod in my mouth, having a root canal. Yeah, so the dentist had this big metal file that was about very pointy. Okay, it was that long because he took an X-ray of it and then jammed the X-ray thing in your mouth, which making you gag and everything, and anesthetic, so your mouth is all like this. And so he actually showed me the X-ray, and it was a metal file that he'd been using to clean out the root, and he was going like that. So yeah, that's been fun. Yeah. So
well, as long as you can laugh about it now, David.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I couldn't at the time because I was only one side of my face would smile, so I looked like a bit like Laura Koonsberg. So
I thought you were going to tell me you were still loaded on painkillers and quaaludes and stuff like that.
I don't know what they gave me for an anesthetic, but it was brilliant. It was fantastic. You could have played the bongos or played the xylophone on my teeth, and I wouldn't have felt it. So it was.
Well, if you do start to feel faint as the show continues, just gesticulate, and we'll get the general idea. If you're having a bit of a wobbler, because things do wobble in the TARDIS console room. Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. When there's a professional at the controls, as we have got this time, then I think we'll be keeping the wobbling down to a bare minimum. And I know that when Gary Akers, the retro doc himself, when he steps aboard, we'll have it all covered. Hi, Gary.
Hi, everybody. You know what? I think that the only solution to your weather problem is that all of you just need to move out to California.
Move to California.
You know, I think that's just, there's no other choice.
It's a bit like
my mankini.
What?
Are you offering rooms?
I'm offering, if you all want to bring your sleeping bags, I'm offering copious floor space.
I'm very good at ironing, Gary. I'm very good at ironing.
There was audible dry mouth there where Gary tried to think of it, and we all turn up going, cheers, mate.
You know what? Seriously, I would love that. I would be surprised and amazed.
I hate liars.
No.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for, pal. Be careful what you wish for.
Luke could stay out on the porch.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Blame the Welsh guy. That's it. Bully the typical Gary.
We could teach him a few Welsh rugby songs.
There you go,
Luke.
What could possibly could
It's
possibly
bit
go
like Seven,
wrong?
that console room. Do you know what I mean?
I haven't got the slightest idea.
Bit Liberator with the hexagons. Yeah, roundels as hexagons.
So yeah, they replay. Yeah, yes, okay, yeah. I'll get on board with that. You're quite right, Gary. Have you got much time for this model? It wasn't around in this form with this color scheme for long. But what do you think? Does it take you back?
My favorite New Who one is the Capaldi's Library. I just think that
came
that's
after.
fantastic. But this is okay. I mean, I like the bluish and the purples. You know, I don't even remember how long this lasted, but
About a week.
it's okay. I mean, it's not I don't have any objections to it. It's just not my favorite.
Oh, see, these are the things when you're looking back at something as storied as Doctor Who. There's so many sort of little corners and creases to it, to all this iconography that we forget. Whether it's the TARDISes themselves, the console rooms, or even the title sequences and the logos. Pelting our way back to 2013 for the majority of this edition of the show, when Matt Smith was leading the 50th anniversary celebrations for the whole show, very heroically too, on the threshold of leaving the show, of course, which I think we were all still a little bit sort of startled at the fact that he was going seemingly so soon. But we didn't have time for too much sadness, because the 50th anniversary, which we'd been counting down to, was finally there. There was just whispers in the air that maybe some of them wouldn't be as much of a shoo-in as we'd have expected. So all of that is coming up later on. You'll be able to relive the joy or the disappointment. Cheer up, guys. Cheer up. It'll be fine. It'll be fun. It'll be perfectly okay. But before we get there, I wanted to ask you about this. You know, talking about answers. Here we are 13 years later, still hunting for answers. Not much has changed, mainly due to this, the notorious clickbait finale to the last season of Doctor Who, the reality war. I sometimes do look back and think, God, did I really watch that? Did that really happen? No, it did. They actually screened this. And obviously, the good news for us fans is that, yeah, we've got to live with it, but we're not the ones who've got to write us out of it. Later this year, we're going to get some answers. Very, very late this year. They're coming. I would imagine he's banging something out right now. So for the best.
Yes.
Not rubbing
No
something
doubt.
out, banging.
No doubt.
Actually, wouldn't surprise me. So that's very much his problem, and you know exactly who I mean. But speculation did die down for a little while, but now it is back with a really wild rumor, which I didn't see coming, concerning one particular incarnation again of the sort of Doctor. So this has appeared today, or was it yesterday, Luke? Because you tipped me off about this over on Reddit, which is a notorious platform for what some people would call leaks. I personally call bullshit.
Must be true.
It's like the wild, wild west at the moment, I think, Luke, where anybody is plastering anything at all over on there, isn't it? But this particular one does come from what you could call a name, a guy called Daniel RPK, who's posted this missive. It's not much, but it's there. Daniel says there are a few scripts due to uncertainty surrounding actor availability. But from what I have heard, David Tennant will appear as both the 14th and Meta-Crisis Doctor.
He will.
The Meta-Crisis Doctor will be the main antagonist of the story, so that's this upcoming Christmas special, and has since gone mad since we last saw him living on a parallel Earth. So he's gone mad due to his inability to travel in time and space and not be the Doctor, because he's, if I remember rightly, he's human by the end, by when we last saw him, isn't he? But according to Daniel RPK, the Meta-Crisis Doctor, he wishes to sort of swap places with the Doctor of our universe, but to stop that from happening, Rose, being the good egg that she is, Charlotte, Rose has been able to interject herself, so Daniel says, and has taken the place of the Doctor instead to stop the evil Meta-Crisis Doctor from turning it all into... God, is anybody keeping track of this? Does it make sense? Charlotte, does this make sense to you? You remember this?
Well, it makes sense with the Rose angle, because we all said it looks like there's been a hijack of the regeneration, or something has taken the place. So that explains that. and it means she's technically not a doctor, and I think that's what she's going to end up not being by the end. But having two tenants running around and being one evil, it just sounds childish. Like, that's the one word I have with that little, like, if that's true. But it makes sense because I think what Russell's going to have to do is make the most of the things he can have, for sure. And Tennant is as surety as an actor he can get. It's easy to have him be as a couple of roles and then maybe hopefully get Billy and have a few other people. But then this also sort of links to what Murray Gold has let slip, doesn't it? Because he's said in an interview recently that there's multiple scripts Russell's written and that it's not locked down basically what's going to happen in the special yet.
My reaction was very similar to Charlotte's, Luke. I thought, what a load of old bollocks. And so I instantly wanted to not believe it. And I thought to myself, well, hang on. The finale itself, the way it ended, was a load of old bollocks. There is no remotely sensible way of writing out of this without it being convoluted, overblown bollocks. I mean, what do you think, Luke? Because it's you that brought this to my attention. Do you believe it?
I thought it was so ridiculous, but then when you look at the leaks that we had with Omega and Poppy being the daughter of the Doctor and Varadasus, I think every leak that came out, we were all like, "Nah, this is ridiculous. This is never going to happen." And then all of a sudden, this comes out. I'm like, "This is ridiculous. This is probably going to happen." Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think the only thing going against it is I believe they're scheduled to start shooting or go into production quite soon-ish. But
Yes.
Wednesday has gone into production, and Billy Piper's a leading cast member of that now, kind of. And David Tennant has signed on to do a new BBC series that's shooting from March till May. So it's going to be tight, really. So it's no wonder this. I reckon we're going to have a redo of Curse of Fatal Death, and we're just going to go through various multiple Doctors in quick succession, landing on one.
It would have been tight. I mean, it would have been tight, Luke, with him playing one Doctor. If he's playing two, or maybe even three.
Yeah, it's
it's a lot to put on a bloke on a busy actor.
We're just going to have a redo with of the three Doctors, isn't we? We're going to have 10, 14, a Meta Crisis, and Baby Omega in the underworld, and Rose is trying to save them all, and then Meta Crisis is going to become the Valiard, and it's going to be
It's
awful.
been a while since I've watched those episodes from 2008, 2009. So I'd forgotten sort of the ins and outs because there was the sort of the Doctor character, the Dr. Donna character. I'm getting confused again, right here, David. There was the Dr. Donna character, and there was a hand in a jar, and there was energy flying around all over the place. And then it all ended with a sort of another tearful finale on a beach, which seemed to happen quite a lot. So I just really think my way through this. But having said that, I think the idea of making a Doctor from a parallel universe a villain isn't a bad idea at all. In fact, I've spoken before on this show how I'd have loved to have seen Christopher Eccleston come back as some sort of alternative universe evil Doctor to finish off the Russell T Davies era, or even to have been the villain of the 50th anniversary. So I think that's a sound enough idea. It's just yet again the idea that this could tie into more of Russell's, would I say, unfinished business stuff, that there's a few layers of dust that has gathered on this since 2008, 2009, and we know what happens when the dust gets disturbed on these things. It doesn't tend to go very well.
No, it doesn't, and it's, for me, it's batshit crazy, and that's Russell, to be fair, isn't it? Absolute batshit crazy. It's the Doctor Who version of the Mirror Universe from Star Trek. It's evil Kirk meets good Kirk, or the enemy within due to a transporter accident. So it's a good Doctor versus the bad Doctor, and it's. Forgive me if I'm saying, but it's been. I think it's a bit of a tired science fiction trope because it has been done so many times. And
it depends, David. Will he have a goatee beard? If there's no goatee beard, then they might get away with it.
I hope he's got blue hair. goatee beard, and wears a strange monocle in his eye, and speaks in a sort of
as a scar, maybe
mid-European continent accent, if you know what I mean.
What would that sound? What would that sound like, David?
I'm trying not to say. I'm trying not to say German. Okay, I'm trying to be politically correct. And they'll probably have, but building on all those stereotypes from that Hello used to do. So it's from my perspective, it is batshit crazy season, as you call it, silly season on the channel, Dan.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's just this vacuum of news. So people, I'm sure, have friends who work at the BBC, maybe insecurity, maybe in the canteens, who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who works on a production that's not Doctor Who, but might be just the regional news. And they, of course, they come up with rumors and just put it on Reddit. And because it's on Reddit, it must be true. Okay, that's the thing. Everything you read on Reddit is like reading the Sun.
In this instance, I'd be quite dismissive of this usually. But what's made my ears sort of prick up a little bit, Gary, is the fact that it is Daniel RPK. So this is Daniel Rickman. He's a prominent Hollywood insider and scooper, as they say. So he's known for leaking information, and it either falls into one of two camps, doesn't it, Gary? So it's either completely on the money, bang on, or it's absolute nonsense and nothing like what we actually get. But his hit rate is really good for casting news, spoilers and trailers and things like that, that generally speaking usually doesn't touch television. It's all the MCU, the DC universe and Star Wars. It's those bigger brands with far larger studios. He's not a Doctor Who guy and steers clear of British stuff. So why now and why this? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Reading that strikes me as the fanfickiest thing I think I've read in many a moon. I mean, it gives me a headache just trying to make sense of that. So I'm sure that the general viewing public are just going to embrace something like this with open arms. You talk about, multiple scripts. When I first heard that floated a few days ago, I called complete BS on it. I think that that's just misinformation so that when filming starts, when the leaks inevitably start coming out, they can say, well, that's not the script, and it'll turn out to be exactly that. Because how many times, and we've talked about it on the show, Russell has said that he knows exactly what the special is going to be. He goes, I haven't written it yet, but I know exactly what it's going to be now. He says he's not sure, and there's multiple versions. And I mean, from a practical stance, unless he was doing all this work for free on all these, mythical multiple scripts, I mean, I can imagine him. I'd love to be there for when he goes up to the BBC and bills them for all the multiple scripts that he's written. And they say, no, we're paying for only one. You're working on your own time. But is there? I mean, if this turns out to be true, as I think that some of you have said, I mean, this just tells me that, that there's no creative gas left in the tank. All he can do is fall back on, his greatest hits. Dan, you used the phrase convoluted, overblown bollocks, which to me is the perfect description of the last 2 years of the show. Yeah. And if they go with this story, that tells me that the show has disappeared so far up its own backside that it has to have a complete reboot, because this is just to the point where they're tossing out incomprehensible stuff that they're going to need to publish a full page story in the Radio Times just to explain the premise to the audience, because they're going to be lost. with
the
something
people
like
who liked
this.
it, all they're going to remember, because Doctor Who was the biggest show on TV back then. There's no way of getting around that, and that should never be done down. But this was a really long time ago now, 18 years or so. So the people liked it, but largely, and even if they bought the DVD set or had that for a little while, and they might have even watched it again on streaming, but for the most part, they'll have moved on. It is allowed to move on from the show. It's just the likes of us that tend not to.
But can you imagine if they go with this? Let's say that this is 100% accurate. They're going to have so much exposition dump in that episode to bring everybody up to speed. Who's the Metacrisis Doctor, and where has he been? Why is he a villain now? Why this? It's just going to be just unbelievable.
Gary, do you know what they'll do? They did it in the 60th. They'll just have Tennant on a screen talking at us. That's literally how they opened the episodes, to explain the Donna.
Oh, you know what, Charlotte? You might be right. They'll have like a Star Wars roll-up, but the roll-up will be like 10 minutes just to explain the premise before the show starts.
Previously on Doctor Who. Yes.
Yeah, we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up with Rose or whoever it is. She'll have regenerated. She'll be there sat on the toilet or something like that, and she'll be talking to herself. Okay, so this happened. My husband, he's gone a bit mental. I've better do something about it. So I hopped back over to this universe a bit sharpish, and oh god.
I mean, Dan, in all seriousness, doesn't that, when you were actually reading that description out loud to us, didn't that just strike you as just insane fan fiction?
Yes. But Russell T Davies, just as you yourself have said, you could argue that a large portion of the 60th was fan fiction. There's been a degree of that over the last 2 seasons, but not in a good way. And so I sort of agree with, I think the conclusions that we've all reached to is this sort of quiet resignation that that there's probably going to be some truth to this. And I'm already getting the arse ache.
It's more painful than my root canal, which is saying something.
I mean,
have a root canal.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Gary. Can I just add something about this multiple script things? They're called drafts. Okay, you start off with a first draft, then you have a second draft, then you have a third draft, and it's possible that the people what they're talking about is drafts of a script, not multiple scripts. It'll be versions of the same script, multiple drafts, and it is, as Luke would probably testify, because he's a good writer. The best work will be his first draft, then, because that was your best ever piece of work, and then you will make little changes, and then little changes, and then little changes, and you might have the end version of the script you'll have might be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drafts later, but that's not different scripts. It's the same script, just edited and reworked several times. So that's probably where people are getting a little bit mixed up with out there in the fan universe.
Well, wasn't Russell the one who said there's multiple scripts? Who was it who said there's multiple scripts?
It's Murray Gold. It's Murray Gold.
Oh, Murray Gold.
Well, Murray Gold. He was speaking very candidly on an independent podcast, totally separate from the BBC, and he said that it wasn't even Russell that had told him. So this has come second and third hand. Oh, okay. So I'm inclined to believe, giving it thought, what David has just said is probably closer to the truth than everything that the mainstream press and the independent sector is running with. Now you've brought it up, David. I think you're probably right.
No, that makes total sense now. And I've got to say, just speaking for me personally, I have zero confidence, that this will be any, especially if it's this stuff, that it will be any good at all. I mean, I'm trying to think back. When has Russell? Because you know that we're all set for like 10 months of hearing about how super spectacular this is going to be. What has he trumpeted that's actually turned out to be as good as his promotions promised? the lady who turned into a star, the intergalactic song contest. I can't think of anything in this new era, not 2005, but last couple 3 years, that justified all of the overblown promotion.
So what Murray Gold said was there's different versions of the script depending on certain outcomes. So I'm guessing that's more to do with there's different drafts of the script with different endings depending on one, if Billy's going to stay as the Doctor, then they can carry that on in the expanded media, so Billy stays. If there's another regeneration with a new actor, they'll cut to that, and there's a new actor.
Yeah.
Always regeneration and fade to black. So I guess
that last one is what I guarantee you it's going to be the last one.
I'm guessing when they're saying it's different outcomes, different scripts depending on different outcomes, is more to do with will we have a showrunner there in time? Will we have a new Doctor there in time? Do we have a new streaming partner? It'll be one of those three, and it'll be one of the three endings. So there'll be draft A, B, and C. So all the same script, just with slightly tweaked endings, depending.
Yeah.
The plot thickens. Are we going to be ready for it by Christmas? Maybe.
No.
I don't know. Could the Meta Crisis Doctor turn out to be a wrong un after all? We'll all find out together. Hold the course, everybody. Hold the course. Let's go and see what the live chat think.
Hi guys, and welcome to Type 40.
A sweep of our friends there in the live chat on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X to say hello to the likes of Cheryl, who's there, and our mate Garbage as well. He's complaining about YouTube. I don't blame you for a single moment. With Stephen Braddock, he's in the live chat as well, as is now Where Are You? I've seen him somewhere there. Woodhouse 122 there as well. And the Zero Room 2. Make yourselves comfortable. Let's have your thoughts about that. Is anybody's head spinning from trying to wrap it around what Daniel RPK is suggesting may happen and where things may go? A big T's in the house. Sire T. Okay, mate. Good to see you, mate. Greetings and salutations, says Tony Farrell. They're good to have you back with us. And we've got Adrian James and Tom from T-Dwarf Productions in there too. He's off to meet Colin
Tom.
and Katie Manning this weekend. Coming London Comic Con. That sounds like a good time.
Nice. How much are they charging?
Not as much as Matt Smith.
Not much. Matt Smith. Oh yeah, he rinses people, doesn't he?
I can't believe Dan's not going. I mean, I told him who's going to be there.
Oh, I'd be a mess. It's funny you should mention her. She's coming up. She's coming up in a little while.
Okay.
Good to have you with us, everybody. Funky's in as well. Got to have you back, Funky. And we've got more from Tom. I think Tom's excited. I think he is. And Stephen O'Neill wishes you the best after the root canal, David.
Oh.
He says that's the tooth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth.
Oh.
Absolutely, I love it.
Have you had a root canal, David? You have not mentioned.
I have, mate. Yeah. I even took my cricket. I even put my cricket box on just in case you had to get leverage somewhere.
Oh.
Oh, God. Reddit is less reliable than Wikipedia, suggests Funky. They're watching on YouTube, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
There's a degree of reluctance to invest in this one, Charlotte.
It's because, like you said, Reddit can be very right or completely wrong, and you just don't know which one it's going to land on.
Zach is back. Good to have you with us again, Zach. Nice to see you. Bored with David Tennant now. What do you mean now? I've been bored of David Tennant for years. And Lord Thoth, our very own Lord Thoth, he's getting a headache just thinking about it. Can't say I blame you, mate. So don't blame us.
He's going to make him the Valiard. He's going to make him the Valiard.
Yeah, he
There's
is.
gonna be a discount. We're going to get a discount Valiard, folks, if this is true.
Yeah.
Oh, dear Michael Jaston. Can never be replaced. Bernard Camden's in. How many of the general audience will even remember the Meta Crisis storyline? Not that many. I hate to say it, not that many, apart from the people who watched it a million times. And even they'll have gone on, like Luke, they'll have gone on and discovered alcohol and everything else in between.
And other things.
Crystal meth.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, each to their own. I think people are sort of enjoying the speculation. Enjoying the speculation, at least.
You know what? I actually just thought of something. This could work.
Mm.
If they could spin this to, this idea is so good, I almost don't want to put it out there because actually this could save this episode. What they need to do is they need to take a note from the Clue movie and just have 6 different endings. You know, just have one ending right after the other. Just say, was it this? And then they could, or was it this?
Yes.
Just film all 6 endings like Clue and throw them all out there.
I think what we do in the Shadows did something very similar, where they had just multiple weird.
And then
endings.
depending on where you're located in England, you get a different ending.
It's so bizarre. Love what we do in the Shadows.
We could select our ending, and they have another year, another 10 months to a year, probably longer, to make that. And that way they don't have to have a showrunner. They let the audience run the show by proxy. So we get one episode every year and a half. But we choose the ending. They go off and make it. And then, of course, you're still not going to get much of a better reaction, but at least they'll feel a bit more secure in what they're broadcasting. Terrified Monk isn't impressed either. Nobody's really buying this, but I get the impression a lot of people believe it's going to happen. There's that sinking feeling and nervous laughter, which again is sort of transmitting through the wonders of the internet.
Maybe people in the chat, just going back on what you said, Dan, could suggest the sort of go back to a sort of choose your own adventure. I think the BBC did What's Your Story with Sylvester McCoy used to present it.
I remember that.
We'll have to phone in what's going to happen next. Maybe we could do a Doctor Who Christmas special like that, and just think of the fantastic places we could.
The multi-choice ending through a press the button sort of device. People, there's a lot of takers for that in the live chat here, Gary.
Yeah.
That seems to be a hit. Stephen suggests we use the red button. I mean, you could do, but that doesn't work anymore. I mean, you could try pressing that.
They're going to need some kind of gimmick like this in order to get people to watch this.
Yeah.
So that could work.
I think that they could be banking on the idea of multiple David Tennants being the only gimmick that they need. Can
we have Dobby
got the
David
memo.
Tennant? As long as we get Dobby David Tennant, I'm in.
You never know. You never know. Look, thanks for the comments in the live chat there, everybody. Hold tight. We've got more to cover. Lots of good stuff to get stuck into. And some more wild sights and sounds.
Say something nice. Otherwise, I'll destroy the universe if you don't watch Type 40.
Yes, so talking of moments, BBC. The BBC.
Mary Poppins took a bit of a turn, I think.
Yeah, the BBC have had another moment. It's not been a great week for them, has it? Coverage of the 2026 British Academy of Film and Television Awards that went global for regrettable reasons. But on the bright side, at least they found their next Doctor, maybe. And John Davidson here, he certainly got the trousers for it. But that did kind of overshadow the BAFTAs themselves. They were hosted by a sort of Doctor Who familiar, really, Alan Cumming. I can't stand this bloke, I've got to be honest. And he went out in public dressed like this. He looked like he'd been sort of assaulted, an aerial assault by multiple pigeons. So I don't know if they caught the one that did it. I hope it gets better soon. I suppose you could say he's looking, Gary, for a hair zone solution.
He's the bastard that nicked my stringy.
Now I really need a aspirin.
There'll be more about that later on. But looking at the BAFTAs themselves, usually it's a bit of a standout occasion for the film and TV industry. And usually the red carpet would be flooded with Doctor Who people. There wasn't so many this time, but we did send some of our very, very best, including English Rose Jenna Coleman, looking absolutely stunning. Looks like some sort of 1950s starlet here, Gary. Beautiful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love her hair like that. I mean, I'm honestly, I've got to say, I adore Jenna. I'm not really sure about the gown, because my first thought, I'm looking at the one on the left, was that it was like a horror movie where you have like stuff crawling up.
When you said the one on the left, you mean the picture on the left?
The picture on the left, like bugs and stuff crawling up. Or I thought, wow, wait, what?
Yeah.
But she herself is luminous.
She looks like the dress is like covered in sort of fly paper, and she's fallen into a big box of scrunchies. Charlotte.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be worse. She looks
like honestly, she looks like a 40s, 50s movie star, like with that.
I love this. I like the kind of victory rolls hair, Gary, the earrings. It's just nice to see people looking classy. And of course, Jenna's been raising a small baby. She gave birth last year, I think, Luke. So not that many nights out of the house for Jenna lately. She's back. She's back.
Yeah, it could have been worse. You should see Chapel Rowan's dress at the Grammys. That's a sight. That is. Jesus.
Who's that? Oh, dear.
Tell you what. Yeah, search in your own time. Just leave it at that. Yeah, no, it's nice. That's it. Fair play to her. Yeah, she looks beautiful, doesn't she? Bless her. And
lovely.
Yeah,
lovely. This was. So this was the BAFTAs themselves, and there was an after party as well, which was staged by Netflix. I don't know if all the mics were working correctly there. We'll probably never know. But at the after party, Varada Setu, she was snapped, looking breathtaking here. Quite frankly, all I'd have been talking about with those tan lines. My God, that's hot. But there she was. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure of the venue, but yeah, very happy to see this strong showing. Excellent work there from Varada. Millie Gibson wasn't there, despite having a great year with the Forsyths going down pretty well. I think she's still out in the USA. Gary, weeks after Gally, still stopping traffic too, it seems. Right?
If I see her walking down the street, I'll stop for a selfie.
So I don't know if she's working over there. What's coming up for her? And in all sincerity, I don't know if there is going to be more of the Forsyths. But she wasn't at the BAFTAs party, and neither was Russell T Davies. So he was off. Heaven knows what he's doing. It's like a drowned rat there. He's been out in the rain. That's his raincoat, Charlotte. That's the kind of coat you were talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, that's sort of a big coat.
Biggish. Big bloke.
It's a sou'wester.
No, but
Pennywise.
I'm surprised he wasn't even just for like the party, like afterwards.
I suspect he didn't get the invite.
No.
They forgot to invite him this year after making such a royal fuck up of Doctor Who would be my guess. But he'll be beavering away on, they have you believe it's like several scripts or several drafts. You're quite right, David. It won't be long until we find out. And the next episode of Doctor Who, maybe this time next year, we'll have the smiles wiped off our faces, and the Doctor Who Christmas special could end up nominated for a BAFTA. We never know, do we?
I gotta say one more thing about Jenna, because I can't get over her look. I can't get over her look. That may be totally. I'm not fashion forward or anything like that, but just I'm focused on her look. With the gorgeous hair and the kind of 50s elegance. And somebody in the chat said she kind of looks like Rita Hayworth. Which I totally get. And I know that for the last couple of years before she took the time off to have the baby, she was doing like some, mystery series, like kind of dark, crime mystery series. But with a look like this, she just needs to lean into parts. I don't know whether it's like not like Downton Abbey or Forsyth Saga, but something like that where she can kind of play up the elegance, because she just looks absolutely, gorgeous here, and needs to get parts that really where she can kind of play up her elegance.
She's
kind
always
of sorry, Dan. It's kind of Agatha Christie, that look.
Exactly. She could do an Agatha Christie miniseries looking like this.
Yeah, she's aging so beautifully and chooses her projects really well. She's done a lot of big dramas, lots of successes since she left Doctor Who. And she was in the Netflix adaptation of The Sandman, which, as I understand, a lot of people didn't like it, but I hear that she was good in it. even though she was playing a sort of a gender swapped character, people liked her in it, Charlotte. So again, I'm a big fan of Jenna's. I think she's fabulous, and yeah, hopefully we'll see her. Maybe we'll see her back in Doctor Who at some point. But yeah, it's just nice to see her turning up at these things again, because it just, people looking classy rather than lowering the tone, I think has to be applauded. When you look at Alan Cumming striding around like that. I mean, I know he's not a Doctor Who personality as such, but he's been involved with it several times, and we seem to be sort of stuck with him. I'm sure that when everybody else stops employing him, which can't be too far away, he'll end up being our problem.
I mean, he's in the next Avengers movie, so he's sorted for a while.
God,
so.
That's
he's Nightcrawler in the X-Men films, isn't he? So they've merged the universes together. Welcome to Type Marvel, talking about the MCU.
David. He'll have 5 minutes on screen at most, because that's how much time he's allowed for everybody else.
I'll go to the toilet at that point. I think.
You know what? That's the one thing. If Daniel RPK is right about what's coming up this Christmas, that could be the one saving grace. However messy this Doctor Who Christmas special turns out to be, you can guarantee it's not going to be anywhere near as messy as Avengers Doomsday or whatever it is that's going to be called. Heaven knows. I think I'm better off just forgetting it all.
Should we just talk about the multiverse saga instead? Should we just scrap the Fiveish Doctors? Let's talk about why it's gone downhill since Endgame.
Maybe another time.
I blame Cliff Thorburn.
I wanted to just give a nod to a story that broke not long before we came on live. It doesn't concern Doctor Who, but there's a massive crossover of interest on this story, and I was certainly really, really shocked. So just want to send our love in the direction of the Red Dwarf fan base. I'm a huge Red Dwarf fan myself. It's a very active, smaller fan base, but obviously the series, the original version, the original runs on the BBC, and then when it continued on Dave, they've generated such a loyal, a vocal, loving fandom. Anybody involved with this show is kind of part of a family there as well, and they've just lost the co-creator of Red Dwarf, Rob Grant. He was 70 years of age. Not much is known at the moment. The writer, who hadn't been involved in TV Red Dwarf for quite a time, had a long, illustrious career in radio and television, and just a few days ago they'd announced his new book, a Red Dwarf book, is being published later on this year. So this was shocking and sudden and very, very sad. Gary, David, I suspect you're Red Dwarf fans as well.
Yes.
You'd have watched around the same time as me.
Yeah.
Luke, I don't know if you're a Red Dwarf guy at all. Are you aware of the show? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched bits. I wasn't really a massive fan of it, to be honest. But yeah, this 70 is no way, and I know how much it means to fans as well, still to this day. And I know recently they were trying to bring it back again, and they almost got it back. And it's a crying shame, because it does have that devout fan base. It's like Blake's M fans are massive Blake's M fans. They're trying to bring that back, and and I know what the show means to people. Just because I'm not a fan of it doesn't mean that I discard it. And to be honest, this day and age, 70's no age to go. But yeah, it's such a shame, and may he rest in peace.
It's it is very obviously shocking and sad, especially since this article came out just 2 days ago. Radio Times Online promoting his book. I guess it's coming out in July. So I mean, it's small consolation, but at least we get kind of, it'll be like the capstone for his involvement in Red Dwarf, and it'll be, I don't know if the book is kind of what his proposed follow-up next Red Dwarf series would have been, but at least we'll get one last helping of Red Dwarf, even just in book form.
for me, he's probably one of the there's no problem about it. He is one of the last pairs of great comedy writers we've had. I think of Croft and Perry, of obviously Croft and Lloyd, of course, who did Are You Being Served? Ain't Not a Fuff Up, but Dad's Army, the hello combinations of such. I think of Ian LaFrennais and you're the man who did Like Lads and thank you, Galton and Simpson, and I think of Grant and Naylor. Not only were they ever present throughout the mid 80s with Spitting Image, they also then went on to Red Dwarf and wrote some of the best comedy I have ever seen. And it was such a shame when artistic differences, as the Beatles once said, artistic differences took hold, and they drifted apart. But not only were they great comedy writers, they also musically wrote the Chicken song that Spitting Image did, that spent a couple of weeks at number one, which I love. Yeah, and the B-side to which was I've Never Met a Nice South African, which was having a go at apartheid Africa at the time. I recommend a listen. It is highly amusing. And I've got that song playing in my head now, so do apologise. But him and Doug also wrote the fantastic books of Infinity Welcomes Careful Drivers and Better Than Life, and those novels, the audiobooks, brilliantly acted out by Chris Barry, just went into so much more detail about the backstory of Red Dwarf, why the characters were what as they were, like what they were, all that beautiful detail. And it's just so sad that such a hero of mine has just suddenly died, because I was so much looking forward, and I still am looking forward to his book in July. I believe it's due to be published, because the summary of it, the plot summary of it, is just, what more can you do with Red Dwarf? I was thinking when I thought he was writing a sort of prequel-y sort of book, and it came out, and I just went, of course, I should never have doubted it. Rob's there, and I particularly, because Doug, obviously, they did two sort of versions of the follow-up to Better Than Life. I much prefer Rob's take on the backwards book that he wrote on Better Than Life, the Better Than Life sequel, because I looking back on it, when you've read those two books, you can see who did what dialogue, and for me, Rob's dialogue was always the best, and always the best, always the funniest, and it's such a shame.
Yeah, really sad story that's only broke in the last hour or so about the sad passing of the co-creator of Red Dwarf, Rob Grant. Just as David's been saying there, a writer on many other things too, The Strangerers, The 10%ers. There were other shows, but it is predominantly Red Dwarf that he'll be remembered for. Obviously, let us know your thoughts about that in the comments, and our thoughts are with his friends, family, colleagues, and our gratitude for another fabulous British cult series, phenomenally successful throughout the 1990s in particular, and something I go back to all the time. You probably do too. So let us know in the comments what Rob Grant, what he meant to you. Okay, this is Type 40 Live, covering all things Doctor Who. We're running behind as ever, but then again, these stories, they just sort of come out of nowhere, don't they? And there's more to catch up on, including our own show. So hit up the playlists. If you're new here, you haven't been around for a little while, you're wondering what we've been talking about, get over to the playlist. You can get all the previous editions of the show, over 270 of them, our deep dives, our regular news shows, and our long-form reports too. It's all there in the playlists, and there's the Type 40 podcast too. Yes, podcasts and live streams are different, everybody. The podcast is up there across all major podcatchers, and our home feed at type40.podbean.com, as always, with the Fandom Podcast Network. Okay, this is Type 40 Live, Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Really excited and, happy to talk about what's coming up next, because I know how much it means to all of you. It's been keeping us laughing for quite a time. The line by line by line by line, so many memories. So we'll touch on as much of it as we possibly can. You tell us your thoughts and share your memories as well. And, we'll see where we end up.
Now, I suggest you start watching Type 40, because I can't. I've got to watch this little blighter. The job for... I'll have less of that from you, thank you very much. Know your place.
Know your place.
Look, if I have to run up a flight of stairs, you come and find me.
I'll be in the lift.
That's going to the bottom of the floor, then. Keep watching Type 40. There's good chaps.
Cast your mind back to 2013. We'd been eagerly awaiting the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who by this point for 3 or 4, maybe more years, hadn't we? Yeah. The series was a fixture of the TV schedules again. It had endured 2 changes of the lead actor by that point, and finally broken America. We never thought that would ever happen. Initially, though, the 50th anniversary seemed rather sparse of actual news or even Doctor Who material. We'd got all the banners, we got the logos, we got the merchandise, but where was Doctor Who? Even the cast didn't seem to know that much about what was happening and what wasn't. So the fandom, we were starting to wonder if anything was going to happen at all, weren't we? And what about those past Doctors who tended to reappear for these big birthdays? The 5th Doctor actor Peter Davison had indeed joked that should the showrunner, Stephen Moffat, consider not involving him personally or them collectively in the anniversary special that year, then he would write one himself. In the end, that's precisely what happened. I remember reading about this, hearing about it, and the play on the words of the 20th anniversary adventure that meant so much to me as a child. I had no idea what to expect, no idea whatsoever, or who would be involved. And it turns out it would rope in all of the Doctors from my childhood, their own part, their own sort of slice of this special event. It was only viewable via the BBC's Red Button service, which isn't with us anymore. You could access it through your Hoofa Doofa. But there was a strong showing of past Doctors. One kind of still current Doctor, but he gets bloody everywhere, doesn't he? And there it was, sort of just appeared one afternoon with very little fanfare on the Red Button in HD. The 5 Doctors, the Fiveish Doctors reboot, and there they are, there they were. So following this development as it was coming together, I think I was waiting for the project to collapse because it sounded so unlikely. And yet here we are, like 13 years on, and it is just as celebrated as any other part of that anniversary and the ones that have come before and that have followed it since. So much so it's about to be re-released next month. It's going to be included in HD in this final collection Blu-ray box set of Peter Davison's tenure as the Doctor. So everything's come back around to the Fiveish Doctors at long last. Charlotte, we've been meaning to talk about this for years, haven't we?
Well, yeah, it's we've talked about the 50th a few times, and you can guarantee either Whoniverse or somebody in the comments will say, yeah, but what about the Fiveish Doctors? You're so right that it sort of has become part and parcel of that conversation and such a big part of it. And I'm like, and the weird thing is, because when it happened, I was still quite young and I didn't know a lot of sort of the history bits.
Don't rub it in.
I know, I have fun. So I sort of watched it, but I didn't have that connection like you guys. And so it was sort of odd to me, sort of, I'd come to it again, and then I could appreciate it a bit more. And then I sort of, after the fact, watched Davidson comment about it at cons or panels, and to hear his retelling of it is just as entertaining, I find, as some of the watching of it. But yeah, I think this stands out because it's got its own energy, its own feel, and it's sort of got that, and I say this with love, that ragtagness, which is just a lovely sort of counter to all the polish and the sort of the special effects side of the 50th. This has its own energy, which is brilliant.
It looks like it could have been shot on a phone or something, which I think was probably deliberate to capture a sort of a frenetic energy about it. But the truth is, this took quite a lot of time to write, to bring together, to organise. And if it's been a while since you've seen the Fiveish Doctors reboot, we've got a trailer coming up right now. So take a look at this.
Is there going to be an anniversary special next year, Dad?
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, but will you be in it?
I think I will be available to film the 50th anniversary.
This is Colin Baker speaking. Could you put me through to...
Well, I seem to be stuck in this time vortex. Goodbye, my dears.
Whatever it is you're planning, I'm in.
Doctors deleted.
This is such a great honour. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.
You were always my favourite.
You know they film it in Cardiff, don't you?
Message deleted. You have no more messages.
What about the Five Doctors reboot thing?
Yeah, I could get a look in.
No, nor could I. I'm usually in everything.
So written and directed by Peter Davison, dropped as we now call it, but appeared more on the red button there on the 23rd of November 2013 itself, the 50th anniversary date. Ably supported by Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, and here and there David Tennant. There's a deluge of cameos in this classic Anu, mountains of in-jokes for hardcore fans based on canonical Doctor Who content and sort of real-life jokes too. This is a feast for any Doctor Who fan, I think, Luke. I mean, have you got many fond memories of this? Was this during your wilderness years from the show, or did this make your radar? Did you scramble back for this?
No, I did. I come back for this. I come back for the 50th, and yeah, I think this Adventurous Space and Time and Night of the Doctor, I think, God, I know people are saying in the chat it's like Web of Fear and Enemy of the World and stuff, but we were treated back then. I thought this was great. I thought this was fantastic how they made use of even the T-shirts and Sylvester just getting Peter Jackson in it as well and using the set of The Hobbit. We've got Ian McKellen in a red button 30-minute piss take documentary about Doctor. And Peter Jackson. It's like, what is going on? Some of the jokes are fantastic. Using John Culshaw as Tom Baker as well is quite funny, considering what he does now and how he took over as Peter as well. But no, I thought he was absolutely. They used Rose Lock well. yeah, that Moffat was fine to play the enemy.
Okay.
So good.
You're going through literally everything, a sentence at a time. Slow down, slow down. Yeah, having all these actors together again, they'd appeared at conventions, I suppose, Luke, over anywhere between 5, 10 or 15 years. They'd probably got to know one another quite well. And I would imagine it was just the same, in the same way that Peter Davison was aware that this big anniversary was coming around, it had probably registered with them as well. But I can't, and I'm sure that obviously actors of all shows, casts, past and present, of any kind of franchise, they all talk amongst themselves. But I can't think of another franchise whereby a group of people from within it could put something together like this and make it happen in any way, never mind sort of push it into the anniversary schedule itself in the way that it was. Because the red button, it was official BBC content, Luke. They used to, and this is why I wanted to ask you in particular, because the sporting, it was a sort of an extra sporting lane, largely for the BBC. For the most part, they didn't put new drama on there, did they?
No, they didn't. No, it was always like Match of the Day Extra or something. But no, it was very unexpected because it's been joked around. And I know Peter's said he tried to do another one for the 60th, I think it was, but the BBC were like, absolutely not. But yeah, they should. I agree. They probably should have been in the 50th. I thought they were used very well in the Power of the Doctor, the Century special. I thought that was one way around it, using them as a hologram and age them up and do that. I thought that was a cool way to do it. The fact that it was so inconspicuous that they were not in it, even though they're under the drapes and we never knew it. No, I thought, if you're expecting a multi-Doctor episode and realistically all you're getting is Tennant and John Hurt, fantastic actor, but he doesn't bring that 60, 50 years of history with him as much as like a Peter did or a Sylvester. So for them to do this,
it's not going to get anybody in the feels
to
present us with a new character, and it doesn't matter even with an actor with as much gravitas as John Hurt. It's got worth to it. It's got weight to it, but it's a different kind. It's a different kind of weight, and so in some respects, I think, and I've always been unsure as to the reality of how this project came together. How much of what we've been told is myth, and how much of it was meticulously planned and authorized. In some ways, I don't want to know, but it's a riot, and it, just as you say, Charlotte, I like how it feels deliberately homely and cheap. It feels thrown together. But obviously, it's artificially created sort of sense of spontaneity. But because it's only half an hour, it really works. And we go to real life locations. So we're at the BBC Television Centre, which is now residential. I think this was one of the last things that was ever filmed there. So we go there. We go to the much missed Doctor Who experience in Cardiff Bay itself, and to the actual studios where Doctor Who was made at the time in Rothlock. So it's a whistle-stop tour of places that some of us had been to, but a great many of us had only read about or seen. So I think it made us feel like we were part of it. We're seeing behind a curtain as well.
Yeah, well, it's the way Peter tells it, and this is what I do think is true. He basically sort of says how he had a rough idea, and then he managed to get a couple of people on board. Probably, like you said, Colin and Sylvester, because they've done convention circuit together. They've done Big Finish together. They know each other quite well. And Paul's probably a part of that as well. And then he sort of says how it started quite small, and then more people either heard he was doing it or sort of just got wind and were like, oh, can I join? Can I have a bit? And and that I can buy, because it, like you said, it has that feel of things sort of just randomly happening in the best way. Like just John Barrowman's in it randomly for a couple of minutes and then he disappears. And that's how he tells it was put together.
Because at the time, there were whispers everywhere on places like in social media at the time. I remember, Gary, Facebook was a thing then, and Doctor Who communities, Gallifrey Base was a lot more popular than it is now. So there's things used to turn up on there, and you'd hear, oh, so-and-so's in it, and this is going to happen, and they've been here, they were seen filming there, and this, all of these things that may happen. And I thought this was going to be an absolute car crash. I'd expected it to be unwatchable because, for the most part, Peter Davison, he's with the best will in the world. Now, this is my Doctor. I love this actor, particularly in this role. Mm-hmm. But he's written a few TV theme tunes and things like that. But I thought, how is he going? He's really going to write and direct and put all this. I thought this was going to be something that would be sort of an embarrassment, I've got to be honest, that people might watch. I wasn't even sure if I was going to watch it that weekend or not, but I just happened to be visiting a family member with my own kids. It's like there was 3 or 4 generations of us. There was nothing else on for whatever reason. So we pressed that red button, and I was delighted from the start. I was laughing from the beginning, and the whole thing seemed to go by in the blink of an eye.
It's not, well, first of all, I got to say that when I look back and think about my own personal experience of the 50th anniversary, I actually don't immediately think of the Day of the Doctor itself. I think of that wonderful trailer that they came out with that started with the policeman walking by the sign. I think of Night of the Doctor, and I think of this. That to me is my initial, one of my go-tos for the 50th. And I think the reason this is so successful, I understand, hearing about your own trepidation about it makes kind of sense to me, because we immediately think, okay, it's going to be a piss take on it. It's going to be mocking. It's going to be, spoofing the fans. Or
I was expecting it to be like that terrible thing that David and Georgia Tennant do, where they're all on sort of webcams and things. I expected it to be incredibly self-indulgent, unfunny, and embarrassing for Doctor Who fans. That's what I was expecting.
Well, but the fact that this could be not only not mocking, and crucially, I think not so insiderish that only people with like a really deep knowledge of the show will get it. I actually think anybody could get this as long as okay, these are the actors who used to be in the part and they're trying to get it. That's, go with that. This is like, the premise is very broad appeal. And I've got to say that for this to be, and please leave up that picture of Jenna as long as you can. For as long as, when I was rewatching it this morning, I just was struck once again by how well written this was by Davison, how well directed that it was, because he is a good comedy director. Because at its foundation, this is a loving tribute to the show. But if I had to class what this is, I would say it's a comedy, because most of the direction is designed to kind of point up the comedy. And the stuff that Davison as a director comes up with is just great. You have Colin Baker standing on the lawnmower to get a signal so he doesn't miss the call. Points like that really is good comedy directing. You have a choice I would have made, Jenna in soft focus. You have that slow pan down to Moffat's playing with the toys, which is kind of like the punchline for that scene. You have the jump cuts of when Colin sits down, his family's at the door pounding to get out. All of that is good comedy directing. So I really applaud Peter Davison for doing that. You have like the punchlines of the security guard chasing, and then it cuts away, then you cut back and he's getting autographs. That's good comedy. And then you do have the insider stuff like Berriman with his wife and kids, and the Anne Rosani stuff with before Moffat wakes up. And that's fantastic. That's kind of more insiderish. But Davison really strikes me as a good comedy director. He knows how to punch and punctuate like comedy point.
Because
And
Gary, not all of it lands, but most of it does.
Yeah. And I got to ask a question. My last question for now is, do you think when this was filmed, I mean, they all had to know that McGann was going to be in this surprise night.
I don't think they did.
I don't think
so much of the jokes was like, is he on the phone to his agent? Oh, he's probably, getting another TV job or whatever. And I don't think they did.
I think even if they had an inkling when they recorded it, I think when Davison was writing it, they almost certainly didn't. There's nothing more subjective, David, than except maybe music. There's nothing more subjective than humor, is there? And I've got to be honest, stuff like Curse of Fatal Death, that leaves me cold. Despite being quite a Stephen Moffat fan, when people quote from that, I just have to stick my fingers in my ears. I'm a tough sell when it comes to pastiches and spoofs on Doctor Who. And yet this does charm me. There's enough. It just seems that every aspect of it is measured just enough. I mean, what are your thoughts? Did it make you laugh as well?
I adore this. I'm with everybody else. I adore it. I love the little gags in the fact, just at the setup, the fact that there's the three of them all sat basically on each other's lap, and over the room separate is Paul McGann, and they're sort of he's always doing what he's always got something going on. What's he doing now? All that little whispering, the fact that John Barrowman has got a secret family. And
even though there's a lot in it, David, each line, there are moments of silence in it as well. It's not overwritten, and yet there's so much in it.
And you talked about music, the fact that my favourite gags before I'll get to one of my favourite ones, but even the gag about maybe we should ring Tom. And they all look sort of, and Sylvester goes, "Oh, well, I'll do it," sort of thing. And then the sort of, "Do we have to?" sort of thing. But then when they go between studios, they open the door and there's the 1980s radiophonic workshop music, and then they open the other door and it's a new series bombastic Murray Gold music, and they always do a sort of like a double take. And go back in another door.
Keep going in and out. That's from a film. That's from a film, isn't it, David? But I can't quite remember which one it was. Like an old movie from the 50s or the 60s, but I can never remember which one it is.
Yeah, and it's gags like that, and there's gags aplenty, and the gag about Peter Davison not being recognised, the gag that Russell's out in the cold, hears about Peter Davison's project. And he's the one ringing Peter Davison when all the other doctors are ringing Stephen Moffat. And there's, and ironically, what I would give to see that plot of that Russell the Davis gives to Peter Davison about the Doctor with lasers out of his eyes going "Kel Damage, Davros," and that could be the nickname. And the fact that the message is 13 minutes long, and it's fantastic. What I would give to see that script from Russell. But
also, David, I think not just Russell, because I don't want to turn this into a Russell sort of bashing thing.
No.
I think that some of the people who are involved in this are kind of, they're different to the people they are now, and they appear to take themselves very seriously now. And yet in this, there's a kind of lightness to it. You think, I didn't imagine it. This series was something really, really special then. This did matter. It was perfect. And we were right to feel the affection we did towards those people at this moment in time, because here they are doing all the things that endeared them to us in the first place.
Yeah, totally. And, using John Barrowman CDs as currency, and which is brilliant. And I just thought that this was a really, really warm, from a really good, lovely place. And I went to one of those evenings with Peter Davison when he came up here. When actors eventually do come up here, they're treated like complete celebrities. And he said that it started off as, mainly as Charlotte said, as a bit of a 5-minute skit. And then suddenly Stephen Moffat greenlit this 30-minute episode, and he said he found himself with a production team, a proper camera team, all this extra money, and he said, I sort of panicked thinking, oh my God, how the hell am I going to do this? And so it went from this quite sort of little idea, and he said it just sort of blew up into this massive thing. And I really do love this, and it was a real pleasure to watch it again.
Have you watched it? Have you watched it very often, David? It's something you go back to a lot.
It's the third time I've watched it in 13 years. So I've not watched it because we had to. The first time I watched it was on the red button. Second time I watched it, we were made to watch it by Peter Davison in the evening with Peter Davison.
Oh, I see.
And yeah, because he wanted to talk about it, which is fair enough, because he was proud of it. And
because some Doctor Who fans, David, watch this all the time, and they know it line by line by line.
Yeah,
I'm not that guy. I've never been that guy. That guy, Charlotte. It's, you know, as much as I love it, I feel that when I love stuff, I feel that if I watch it too much, I might break it. Have you watched this very often?
I'm like you, not very often. I've watched it a few times, but I think I think especially with comedy, sometimes if you leave it for a bit, the jokes sort of are more impactful when you come back to them again. And I think that what you've all sort of touched upon here is everybody involved in this was willing to sort of let themselves be a bit of the joke here, was allowing themselves to sort of have a couple of jibes at either what they're perceived as or their own little quirks. And I think that's also why this works really well. The fact that Moffat was okay, like you said, to sort of be the bad guy here because he's not allowing them, or he's sort of being the thing that's stopping the classic Doctors from being there. Like, nowadays, I don't think a showrunner would do that because you are sort of allowing yourself to be a not very good part, almost. Like you said, Russell in this, he's willing to be a small little thing, sort of a little cameo, and then do his thing and then move on. I don't think his ego would allow that nowadays. No. So it has that, and the fact that all the classic Doctors, at times, they allow themselves to look a bit pathetic, but in that sort of British manner of we're laughing with them, not at them.
Yeah, it's as if they're. It's got a, and I shouldn't. I know this is a lazy comparison, and I try not to use it, but it does have a kind of carry-on tone to it, in the way that the characters, Luke, are kind of, they're all inept. They're all sort of, they're trying their very, very, very best, but you know, like Colin Baker is constantly fighting this sort of the obsession with himself, being self-obsessed. You've got Sylvester McCoy, who it's gone to his head that he's been in this blockbuster movie, and you've got Peter Davison, who's got all these neuroses about being a sort of a forgotten heartthrob almost, who now has to get up and walk the dog and do all of it. So they all show this side to themselves that they pull together a kind of a bulldog spirit, if you like, to get this job done. It's like Ocean's 11, but with three old guys, and it's impossible not to be charmed by it and not to gush about it in the way that we all have.
Yes, they're very much that strange bedfellows grouping, isn't it? Where it's like everyone's kind of like, oh, okay, a little bit off. It's like they're all playing like massive caricatures of themselves. Like Peter was known for being a bit grumpy at cons, and the first thing we see him, he's like, move on, signing the autograph. And so they clearly, so he 100% knows. So they clearly taken on board on what people kind of think of him, and then just like, well, we'll just put it in, we'll just slide it in. I nearly said a really bad joke on the end of that then. Gee, I caught that 1 second.
You've been hanging about with me too much, mate.
I was watching Peaky Blinders just before I come on here. So there's something. Yeah, but no, they all come across so well in it, and you can tell that they're just in it for a laugh and the joke and the enjoyment of having something to do with the 50th. And yeah, the Sean Pertwee thing and Olivia Colman is so bizarre at the start. Yeah, Georgia's having an 8th kid or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But everyone is used really, really well in it. Everyone's used really, really well. And yeah, like I would have loved to have seen another version of this. I'd love to see an updated one.
Now you've mentioned it, I think that immediately, as soon as I saw Olivia Colman, who at the time was Flavour of the Month, and in many respects she still is. She's probably bigger than she was then, but at that time it was at the sort of the beginning of Coleman mania, and she was, every time you turn on the television, whether it was a sitcom or a drama, there she was, and seeing her sat next to Sean Pertwee, it was like, what? Oh, this is for real then, because she'd been in Doctor Who only a couple of years earlier at that point, but her career had gone stellar, hadn't it? It's like, this is serious. They're bringing the big guns, I suppose. It's the message that this sent, and obviously pairing her up with Sean Pertwee as well, which was probably down to availability. But you've got one person who couldn't be more mainstream, and then another sat next to someone who, was a known face, but a deep cut. A lot of people who'd come across this might, well, why is he there? What's he doing there? But it didn't matter. We knew why he was there, and it was right that he be there. And so it was perfectly walking that fine line, I think, Luke.
Yeah, but don't forget, this is a red button show. Like the more you talk about it, you've got Olivia Colman, Peter Jackson, Ian McKellen, set of The Hobbit. You're like, this was on the red button. This was not on like prime time. It's so bizarre.
This isn't a thing anymore. This has been superseded, I suppose, by the iPlayer, by Whoniverse, by interactivity and platforms and hubs and things like that, which is, it's a global thing, Gary. We live in the global streaming age. We've been through a streaming war, some people would have you believe. So this quaint idea that you push this red button and you just get something extra to watch if you've got a spare half an hour, or if there's a football match on there that's not big enough, maybe it's a couple of Welsh sides or something. I was never sure how they selected what they put on the red button, but it was more curiosities, really. This has sort of given way to something else, and so now it all seems very, very quaint. But how did you find it, Gary? Where did you first see this?
I think, probably like online somewhere. I mean, it was so long ago. Maybe if somebody like sent me the file or something, because obviously being over here, it wasn't, broadcast anywhere. Although I clearly knew. I mean, I was like every day keeping up with anything related to the 50th. Like if stuff was dropping, or I mean, I was like a fiend, for that. Whether it's stuff on. The radio. The radio had the BBC radio had a lot of great stuff for the 50th, and I was just keeping a laundry list of it. And I'm sure that when I couldn't get myself, I contacted people. And it's like, oh, can you get me a copy of this, that, and the other thing? Although I think the concept of Red Button, it's great because it's like things that like extra special little, kind of like full-length Easter eggs or stuff that defy categorization, which this does kind of, sort of. I think that this is fun. I do want to say that I think Charlotte made a really great point about how, it walks the very thin line between not making Peter and Colin and Sylvester like figures of pity or anything like that. And it even allows them like a moment of actual triumph where they all kind of pour the champagne and toast themselves on their kind of victory of getting in and do it. So they are Gary,
heroes of it. It's Compo, Clegg, and Foggy. They've got to the bottom of the hill in the tin bath. Everybody's fine. They're all gonna go off to the pub or to the library. So it's nothing better, nothing worse. And it's pure sort of sweet British little victories. I think little victories.
Yes. And like I said, there are moments of triumph in it. I do love one of the pictures you had up before about where when they get in and Sylvester's under the thing and he puts his cap on, and I thought,
you know, that kind of looks like Cousin It from the Addams Family there.
Yeah.
You know, in a way,
you
with
hear
the
somebody
cat.
shout on the studio floor as well. Get that hat off!
Yeah,
get that hat off!
And just like I said, it's like there's stuff in there there's stuff here that only like deep dive fans will get and appreciate, but there is way more than enough for people who don't have that deep knowledge of Doctor Who will get this and understand it on that level too. And I think that was a really wise choice by Peter Davison to do it that way.
Do you know one thing that I do believe is true? I could actually imagine is that Colin Baker's family do have to hide his DVDs from him, and that he does lock them in to make them watch it. So that is the one thing I would just love to be true from it all, because I found those scenes while he's messing about, as you said, you know, with the with trying to get a phone signal, it pans out to his good lady who's absolutely working tirelessly at the bottom of the garden, doing that, and it's just as you said, Dan, it's Compo, Clegg and Foggy down that bottom of the hill, you know, having wrestled with Nora Batty and all other sorts of obstacles to achieve what they have, and it's just great British sitcom writing.
And they kind of point at the I suppose they point at the fact that the two most recent Doctors, Charlotte, had become a kind of a mixture of sex symbols and international treasures. They point at that modern silhouette of the hero, the heroic figure that the Doctor was now, you know, seemingly very capable, nuanced character, but an evolved version of the character that they'd all played. And they acknowledge that, and they don't do it down, do they? But they just say, but this is who we are. This is what you loved about us. This is what we liked about playing this character. I think the genuine attachment, because Peter Davison, he'd done lots of things before Doctor Who. He did lots of things afterwards, and he'd given several tetchy interviews. So I think there's a broader statement on the character itself there that was true in 1981 when Davison took the role, was true in 2013 when this was put on, and at principle, it's probably true now as well, that we could get back to.
Yeah, no, I think this is why it is interesting when you have past actors sort of comment on their own work, or like you said, what was happening with the Tennant and Smith at that time, and it's sort of got that lens, and I think that's one of the reasons why this thing works so well with fans, because as much as I do love the 50th, it did have that missing feeling of you're not really either using the classic or commenting, even if you can't have them in the scenes, just to even have them part of the story a bit more would have been lovely. And it didn't happen, so we had this to sort of fill that gap. And I think it did come from them all loving being, like you said, part of this role, and the fan aspect of it, because also at conventions, Peter has spoken about, and he said it in a very jokey manner, but I think it came from very much love, that the BBC sort of wanted this to be cut a bit. They wanted this to be a little bit less.
Oh, really?
And he basically responded saying, well, if you do that, I'm going to tell the fans.
Yes.
So he knew exactly what he was doing by saying that to them. And it's sort of and you could, and like I said, Peter's very witty, he's very dry, but I think that was him talking from the heart by doing that to the BBC and sort of using the fans as a bit of a threat to be like, you can't make this less or try and reduce it. It has to be what it has to be.
But you know, Charlotte, I got to say that, I don't know about you, but for me, the rewatching it again, and I've seen it, I don't know how many times I've seen it. The scene that got to me the most on this, when I rewatched it for this, is the scene where they break into the current console room. And Davison says, this is wrong. Why isn't it wobbling? And then Sylvester says, "What are those things supposed to be?" with the spinning around. And then Colin says, I missed the bright light. And I don't know, that scene just got to me. I mean, being the classic series kind of fiend that I am, that just really got to me. I think that was a really nice acknowledgement that, things change and that the way it used to be, there was worth in that too. I like that.
I think that's very much them tipping the hat by sort of saying it's not my TARDIS, and this is what my TARDIS was like. But look,
why is it all moody in here?
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
I also love the Frank Skinner, Charlton, and Nick Briggs scene. Well, their loss, that sort of they're sort of living it up in their dressing room, having tea and biscuits, waiting
all
to
of those
just to
little
be
moments. Again, David, it's not just Carry On, but it's the kind of Ealing comedies as well. It's all kind of very mannered, there's lots of, like Gary said, very visual gags. There's sight gags, plays on words, interesting use of props. I don't think they get to ham it up as such, but you can see, and just looking at the picture now, you can see they're loving every minute of this. Everybody who was involved.
Totally. And I also love the lecture that Davis and Baker and McCoy get as the three Daleks. As you do realise how lucky you are to be in this. That's when they turn up late, and it's just sort of like
apparently, David. Lots of those people who say that stuff were members of the crew, of the staff at Rothlock. People who worked on the show in various sort of admin capacities, makeup. There's a scene where Peter Davison, it's like the dream sequence, and there's three makeup girls sort of applying his makeup and telling him how wonderful he is. And apparently they were the makeup staff, Luke. I'm not sure whether it was their moment to shine or whether they would have done so reluctantly, or maybe they thought, it's just the red button, nobody will see. I don't know. But everybody plays into it. Everybody sort of, I don't know, it just has this kind of almost a student mentality to it that I find irresistible.
Yeah, it does feel like that fun little like B-Tech thing. Right, okay, cool. Here's your camera. Go out. Just go make something Doctor Who-y. And it's like, right, okay. And they come out with probably one of the best things of the 50th anniversary. Is fun. Yeah, brilliant.
I have a question, Dan, for you and for everybody. And this is not in any way, obviously I adore this. Not minimizing the contributions of everybody on this, and especially Davison for writing and directing it. But do you think that one of the many reasons why this is so beloved, beyond just the fact that the tone of it and it's a loving homage and all of that, but I mean, because I noticed that all of you keep coming back to and you all have far more knowledge about the whole red button thing than I do. But do you think one of the reasons why this has lasted so long is because this could be described as, better than it had any right to be, if you know what I mean when I say that? I mean, because it seems like for being on red button, it sounds like there's not really a lot of expectation that goes with things that are on red button. And the fact that this was so good and so well done and so well written and acted and so funny that it's like, well, why was this on red button? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is better than it had any right to be. Absolutely. I don't think the affinity with it is because it's better than what it should be, better than it has right to be. I think the affinity with it is just because it is just a love letter to every era of Doctor Who, and it chucks everything against the wall and everything sticks. And it's like,
it just sounds to me, Luke, like that all of you with the stuff that you watch on red button you don't expect it to be this good, or maybe I don't know.
Well, normally it's football, so okay. I hate football. So,
and one thing that really impressed me from a really geeky point of view is that in that dream sequence of the companion floating around like Andrew at the end of Androzani, in the regeneration sequence, Peter Davison actually gives Adric his last scripted line from Earthshock. I'll never know if I was right.
Right.
And I just thought that is absolutely that is bang on.
And David,
so
there's
brilliant.
there's the line of Sylvester McCoy's Doctor from Remembrance of the Daleks about the ripples in his tea.
Yes.
That's in there as well. I thought, well, does Peter
Yeah.
Davison really know classic Doctor Who that well? Or I found that unlikely, because sometimes they're asked about their own stories and they don't know the lines that they said. So somebody must have helped him, David, or would you think he researched it? What do you think it was?
I think the ripples in the tea thing might have been suggested by Sylvester. I think he probably went back and just did a little bit of research. In it
together.
And I get it together. But I just think, as Luke said, it had no right to be this good, but it surpassed all expectations. Even down to and what are those extra camera crew over there? Oh, they're filming the making of documentary. That even those little gags, and it was just utterly. If you could have, when this idea first started, if Peter Davison knew then how it would end up, I think he would have been having a little jive and a little party with himself, because it ended up being just the perfect love letter to the whole show, and it is probably some of the best, unintentionally best material that we got for the 50th anniversary. Absolutely amazing.
Some of it, though, Gary, to what you were saying, we didn't have any expectations for this.
Yeah,
we had no idea what we were getting, and I think that was sort of the fun of it, because we knew we were going to get Matt in the 50th, we knew we were going to get Tennant, we knew we were going to get the actors we were going to get, we could guess some of the plot, but it was just none of us could have predicted most of what happened in that 30 minutes before we watched it.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of spontaneous nature of it, which I think which would be hard to do again, even though I know we've all said Peter did sort of propose for the 60th to the BBC. And I do think, down the line, BBC's probably going to be really kicking themselves that they didn't let him do something, at least, in this
I've got a quote coming up in the next half of the show from Davison about that, and certain sort of little factoids and nuggets and things like that. Stuff that I certainly didn't know that you might know. And we're going to take the questions and comments and memories from the live chat as well. But another novelty about this, I suppose, is getting to see where Doctor Who was filmed. The offices, the premises, the walkways, the studios themselves, Luke, which are usually obviously under lock and key, away from the gaze of any viewers, members of the public, never mind fans. So you could say it kind of demystifies it a bit as well. And we've spoken before about how Confidential inspired you. Seeing a functional space like this as well, being used in a really kind of practical, it looks like a workplace. There are security staff, there are clipboards, there are doors you're not supposed to open, and there's all those kind of things, the signs you're meant to read, all that kind of thing. It does, I don't think it makes it look mundane as such, but again, I think it reduces it to a place where you think, okay, we are really all just as hopeless as one another, and isn't this all wonderful? Isn't this something that we are all a part of? Yes, you may not work there, but for this 30 minutes, you were allowed to wander around in much the same way that Davison, McCoy and Colin Baker are.
Yeah, I love Roselock. So where this photograph is taken, just behind it is the smoking area, which actually doubles onto the set of Poblatum, which obviously has taken up the entire backlocks as an entire village. Just through that door upstairs then is the Doctor Who office. So the Doctor Who office used to be the back office and the furthest one, but they moved to the closer one. So I think I had my desk was at the far end of Roselock overlooking Cardiff Bay.
I forgot you worked there.
Yeah, I worked. I think I was around this time as well. And the canteen was amazing. The BBC canteen was absolutely phenomenal. Fish Fridays and curry Wednesdays was great. It was £4.50. £4.50 for fish chips and mushy peas.
Wow! I'll take
it.
that.
Yeah,
Curry Wednesdays.
It was curry. It was good curry as well, and I had good memories of working in this place. It was such a vibe. Like it was. We used it once to double as a prison. One of the characters, one of the characters comes through the end of that photo. There's double doors that open out onto the car park, and the character was going in to see his dad because he was in prison. So that the doors open, we walked him in. So yeah, we had Publicum is the long running soap. But yes, we've used this for multiple occasions, and it was great. I used to love working there. I used to absolutely adore the place. So
well, now you've mentioned curries and fish. Was it Fish Friday and
Fish Friday? Yeah, it was great. £4.50, mind.
£4.50. That's excellent value.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Let's take a short break from memory lane and the corridors at Rothlock there for the Type 40 live Doctor Who ad break. But this is a special Fiveish Doctors reboot edition. Check out some of this material that didn't make the final cut of this other 50th anniversary special. If you've not seen these before, it's a real treat. Then we'll see you back here in a couple of minutes with some of your memories and your comments as well. So check these out.
Well, the thing is, you don't get much of a signal down at the bottom.
Well, if somebody rings, they'll leave a message, won't they?
All right, I'll be there in a minute. I've just got to the exciting bit. But what's happened to the rest of the pages?
Enjoy. You are my 11th favourite Doctor from a big fan, Kent. It's a bloody silly name.
Oh, Peter! How are you?
Hey, I'm great, yes.
Oh, we must meet up. We have such fun working together.
Yes, we did.
Anyway, must go. The fans await. Big kiss to your lovely wife. Bye.
No idea.
Yeah, back for more Rumble X, YouTube and Facebook with Type 40 Live, the past, the present and the future of Doctor Who, just not necessarily in that order. We're out of order and roaming around in Rothlock here as we revisit the Fiveish Doctors reboot and those special scenes that didn't make the final cut. I've got the panel here back as well, all present and correct. Had anybody seen any of those before? Charlotte, you caught those before?
No, I hadn't, but I'm not surprised there was more Hobbit jokes.
Yeah. Why had he cut the bit out of the back of the book?
Because I'm guessing those were the bits his character wasn't in.
Oh, right, yes. Yes, that's a very good point. Bird
I think Radagast was a kind of minor character in the book, so he'd removed the pages. Yes, good stuff. So yes, we're back. I mean, for 31 minutes of entertainment, there's a lot to talk about with this, not just us here on the panel, but you guys there in the live chat as well. So thank you for being so patient whilst we went through our memories and figured out where we all are with it. So it turns out, for a change, we are, generally speaking, on the same page, aren't we? Let's see what people have got to say about all of this. I mean, Cheryl just thinks it's brilliant. By the looks of things, brilliant. Couldn't agree more. Sometimes one word is all you need, really, isn't it? You've spoilt us, Sir Stephen. These are wonderful words. Not me. Peter Davison. Go and thank him Yeah, what else? The red button on the BBC was great. We got all of the minisodes and the Doctor Who proms on it. Oh, yeah, I forgot they put the proms on there too. Sometimes they turn up on BBC 4 or 3 or something, but usually they'd be there first. They'd be there first, wouldn't they? Funky is a fan of the security guards. Yeah, there's a kind of double act with the two security guards, isn't there? They're kind of...
yeah.
In the sense that comedy kind of double acts tend to be like the two dopey security guards or the bodyguards that Hale and Pace used to play, Ron and all that kind of thing. So again, they're played as being thick as two short planks.
Do you know
an
who
overgrown
the security...
kids.
Sorry, do you know who the security guards reminded me of? It's like the Verger and they are P-Morden. I'll tell his reverence, you know.
It's the same thing. The Jobsworths.
Yeah,
again, to go back to Last of the Summer Wine, it's the librarian and the Ivy from the calf. It's all those kinds of characters.
It would have been funny if they had the three of them running around and they run into the last scene where they've got all the doctors there. And they could have seen themselves with all the... Because believe it or not, one of them is played by Philip Roy. He doesn't like to talk about it, but apparently he played the 7th Doctor in the 50th. So we could have had Philip Roy meeting Sylvester McCoy, and we were robbed of it.
Yeah,
absolutely robbed.
One day that's bound to happen. Stephen says here in the live chat on YouTube, in the Androzani sequence, you also see K9 with John Leeson nagging Moffat for a part. I must have missed that. See, there's lots of things that I haven't noticed about it.
Yeah.
And Ian Scales says it was a golden time, and everything seemed to go wrong. Everything seemed to go wrong after it. Woodhouse 122 says, I love that they used the same Sharda clip in this when it came to representing Tom Baker, because they represent everybody that they can with this, don't they? We've got not just John Pertwee's son, but Patrick Troughton's son Michael is in this too. They try to get representation for whoever they can, however they can. But Tom Baker, you wonder how much of this is true and how much isn't. But the fact that it was the exact same clip that was used in the 5 Doctors where he'd been a no-show to represent him here. Again, it's another in-joke. Now, apparently, Davison did contact Tom Baker 3 times to ask him if he wanted to do this, but there was total radio silence. So there was no kind of there wasn't any kind of bark of massive reactance. But there was no soft, gentler, polite reply and refusal either. He just never heard a single thing. John Colshaw does provide, as always, a brilliant Tom Baker impression in this. But again, it simulates just enough to keep us chuckling so we don't notice. And to be honest, it never once bothered me throughout the rest of the thing. But it might do. I don't know. We've got lots of memories here from everybody about various points. Oh, look, so Bill Silver says, oh, look, the round things. Remember the round things? I love that line. The live chat here is heavy with quotes. We'd end up doing entire quotes, Gary, but this is how it tends to work with these kind of bigger events that we do these live stream celebrations, isn't it? Is that people immediately, it pops up, there's that bit, that line. And it's only natural that people want to celebrate each individual part that may have hit a particular nerve or generated a massive sort of swell of nostalgia.
Well, that's the best part of nostalgia, you know, the things that we just need to think of, whether it's a line or just a moment, and immediately we're flooded with all the feelings of what it felt like the first time we watched it. I do want to say, and I know we're going through the chat, I could totally imagine that actually being Tom Baker's voice message. I could totally see that.
Me too. Stephen says it plays like the goodies breaking into the BBC. You know what, Stephen? I think that's what I've been trying to latch onto. I think, Last of the Summer Wine isn't quite right. I think you're probably bang on with that there. And yeah, Funky says exactly the same thing. It feels like an episode of The Goodies. I suppose you're right. For Boomer Doug in the live chat, the Fiveish Doctors was an absolute highlight of the 50th. We fans were so spoilt.
Yep.
For that few days, it was difficult to know what was coming next. There was documentaries, there was special sort of factual programs. All of us, a lot of people were complaining for months in the run-up, Charlotte. To be fair, I knew a lot of casual Doctor Who fans who were saying, I thought this was meant to be a big year, and there was basically nothing on for 6 months. But when it arrived, it really did arrive. And I suspect there's probably a lot of members of the general public that either didn't know this existed, the Fiveish Doctors reboot, or have watched it and not thought about it since. But again, not everybody's as obsessive in the way that we all are.
And to be fair, this wasn't made. Like, I know we sort of joke, you get actors say, no, it's not made for you. This was made for the geeky fans. Like, this was not general audience at all, because they wouldn't understand most of the jokes. They'll just look at it and be like, why are these old blokes trying to break into the BBC? Like, it just, you need that connection, and that's what we've all sort of talked about in different ways. This has sort of got that connection to the heart more than anything for the 50th, I think, for lots of people.
They're going home on the coach together, sozzled. It's the look on Colin Baker's face when he's waving that bottle of wine in the air before they get onto the coach as well. A job well done. Cheryl says they would use the iPlayer now. Well, yeah, they put it on the Whoniverse. Bill Silver says the 50th anniversary was a fantastic celebration. The scene where Paul McGann enters the room and says, "Whatever you're planning, I'm in," is a homage to Lieutenant Bush in a Hornblower Mutiny from 2001, according to Stephen O'Neill. I know Paul McGann was in Hornblower, but I've never seen it, so I don't know. I'll take your word for it. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that Peter Davison knew Hornblower line by line, but maybe you did. Maybe you did. Sally Wagenblatt is sick of the sight of Olivia Colman. Oh, sorry, Sally. And Sean Pertwee, in that same scene, according to Funky, was hinting that he was about to go off and start filming Gotham. Yeah. That eventually did run for 5 or 6 seasons, didn't it, Gary?
5 seasons.
Man, good show. Well, I think
it was great.
Gotham,
it took a while to get going, but then it became great.
And he was Bill Silver. Good Alfred.
He was fantastic.
He was superb, wasn't he? He was superb. Bill Silver likens this to the Hangover movie franchise, David. I'd never once thought of that. Nobody gets their meat too veg out in this, thank heaven. But if it works for individuals.
Bill, you do you, mate. You do you.
We've really done something here. Lots of people don't like Olivia Colman, including Heretic there.
Wow.
On YouTube. Lord Thoth is a fan of Peaky Blinders. Look for Peaky Blinders from my part of the world. And
I mean, all filmed in Manchester, so brilliant.
Cool old guys. Stephen O'Neill says the scene of David Tennant blocking the studio doors with a fire extinguisher. Apparently, that was the scene they filmed the first. Thank you for that, Stephen.
Nice.
And Charlotte, Russell T Davies. I think Stephen's talking about Russell T Davies. Yeah. His ego would be far too big to do this now. I don't think he'd so readily be part of something that pokes fun. I think he's
at him.
I think he's a very different man now. Yeah, I think he takes himself far more seriously now. But maybe I've got him wrong.
Kildamage, Dan. Kildamage.
And the fact that the message was 13 minutes long as well. This next message is 13 minutes long.
Woodhouse 122 says the last time I watched this was when I bought the Anniversary Specials Steelbook a good few years ago. Yeah, that came out 2022, I think it was. That's how I watched it this time as well. And Cheryl says, I've got that John Barrowman CD. It can't get you into the experience, the Doctor Who experience anymore. Sadly, that's long gone. But you could try and take it somewhere. Maybe get you into Peppa Pig World or Bluey World or whatever it is they've got at Alton Towers, the CBBC land. People love Peter Jackson being in this. I was a big fan of Peter Jackson, just the same way most people are big fans of Peter Jackson. I think that was it's one thing to see Olivia Colman in it because she, the truth, she was in everything. So it was a surprise, but not a surprise. But Peter Jackson, at that time, probably still was he the most decorated? Let's put it this way. He hadn't ever suffered a backlash in the way that George Lucas had. People adored Peter Jackson after the Lord of the Rings movies, and we hadn't seen the Hobbit trilogy yet. Right. So there was no reason to dislike him. This guy was a big shot, and Doctor Who fans knew he was a Doctor Who fan. I think he still owns a screen-used Seventh Doctor costume, doesn't he? And he's made various noises about working on the show, writing for it, directing one or both. I don't know. It's never ultimately happened. But apparently he was more than game to become involved with this. Sylvester didn't know anything about it initially. It was filmed in New Zealand with Peter Jackson and Ian McKellen, and to this day it is the only part of any Doctor Who production that has been filmed in that part of the world, in the Antipodes. But Peter Jackson still harbours a desire to work on the show to some degree. I'm not sure it'll ever happen now, Luke. I think it's probably unlikely. But then again, I'm never really sure what Peter Jackson's doing now.
Yeah, and The Hobbit wasn't his fault. Let's not...
No.
Guillermo del Toro dropped out with very little time to go and prep it. So, he may do with the millions they've already spent on the production and pre-production. But yeah, it was touted that he was going to do the 50th for a bit, and they did that.
Really?
Because he said, he was like, well, you don't have to pay me, just give me a Dalek. And he's like, that's all that's all he wanted was a Dalek. And then obviously you've got that little skit as well afterwards with him and Capaldi, and where Capaldi's as the Doctor and he delivers him the note and then gets chased out of his house by a Dalek. So he was around it for the longest time, but they never got it to. Sorry, my missus is putting the heating on and it's just beeping here randomly. It sounds like something's going to go off. But yeah, no, he was skirting around it for the longest time, wanting to do it. It's a shame that they never did, because a Peter Jackson Doctor Who 50th or a regeneration story would have been absolutely incredible. Especially if they went over and put up the money and go on, film it in New Zealand. That would have been incredible. Imagine what we could have had.
Just something amazing, probably.
Yeah, maybe one day. Boomer Doug, is representing the Southern Hemisphere in the live chat. They film in Cardiff, Bugger. Says Funky again. Most lines from the entire thing are here in the live chat. The Fiveish Doctors treated Doctor Who fans, Doctor Who fans ourselves, with respect. To be honest, the Doctor Who production, the production team, the show itself, always treated Doctor Who fans with respect. Up until a very few short years ago, I always felt that it was a two-way. We were connected. We were understood, even if we didn't always like that which was produced. I think it all felt like we were on the same side, really. What else is here? People griping about other anniversary specials that have come since. Guys, you can vent all you like, but we're not going there. We've covered those specials quite enough. We'll return to them one day, but there's no point in going over old ground over and over again. Is the Charlotte? We're celebrating. We're celebrating here. John.
Yes,
lots of people love the John Barrowman scene. Charlotte.
Yes.
I mean, have you got a favourite scene, Charlotte? Have you got a favourite moment?
To be honest, comedy-wise, the image which just sticks with me is the three of them protesting outside, because it's just like in your head you think protest loads of people, and it's just three of them, and like one's half asleep, the other one's having a cup of tea, and like for comedy that just sticks in my head. And I think it's what Gary's saying though, because that's like the low point, that's the sort of the failure point, and then like we say they get their victory. So that's also why I think
Yeah.
the protest stuff does stick with me a bit.
Doctors deleted. You have no more messages. I think most of my favourite scenes and moments, weirdly, Gary, do involve Stephen Moffat being, the villain of the piece.
Yeah.
I suppose, because he was running the show then. He must have been, he wasn't only doing Doctor Who, but he was doing Sherlock as well.
Mm-hmm.
And to take the time to throw himself into this with such gusto. I mean, the man's got a fabulous sense of humour anyway, and he's always self-deprecating, having said that. But he's being sort of chauffeured around, and the way he's sort of nonchalantly rejecting calls and deleting messages and things like that. I don't know. Again, it's James Robertson Justice, I think the actor's name was, in those Doctor at Large movies from the 50s and the 60s. It's more of those kind of old British comedy films. He's the slightly stuffy one that's stopping the upstarts from pulling off whatever stupid stunt they're trying to pull off, and it plays into that again.
Yeah, I remember him he was in one of the Margaret Rutherford, Miss Marple movies. I think maybe the first one. But yeah, and it's interesting. I find it interesting that maybe it's unintentional that Moffat and Russell T in this are the two that come off as kind of like slightly unhinged. Moffat's there playing with his dolls, going, moving around, and Russell with his 25-minute or however long it is message. It's like, those are the two guys that have taken their fandom and it's unhinged them. I thought that was kind of interesting. But I do want to shout out one scene we haven't talked about yet, which I think is a great scene of the young fan running around the experience, waving his Sonic. But then he's the one to know that something doesn't look right with the classic doctors after they've taken the coats. And I thought, well, that just shows that, the classic is that the young fans still know the classic series. And so that was kind of like a punch the air moment for me. I'm glad that they did that.
Got a comment here from Corvin in the live chat. Hi, Corvin. It's been a while, mate. Hope you're keeping well. And he says, I'd have liked a 6-episode sitcom spin-off from the Fiveish Doctors based around Peter, Colin and Sylvester sharing a flat. And David, again, Corvin mentions the goodies. So I think that's the groove. We're on a goodies groove here.
I love the flat share idea. That's fantastic. Taking the odd couple to the extreme.
The odd trinity. Brilliant. Fiveish does allow me to do a more accurate cosplay of Colin than his era's outfits, says Funky. I don't understand what he means. What's he on about?
Well, I think means that I don't know if is that like a real what he's wearing here in this picture, is that like a patchwork, or is that lifted from either the experience or the actual BBC offices, but maybe like this more kind of like guerrilla style of the Six Doctors outfit is easier for fans to kind of put together.
Yeah, because it's just a T-shirt and a coat, isn't it? So it's
they've all got. I think that's part of the fun as well, Luke, because they're all wearing those T-shirts, which were really popular items of merchandise at the time, weren't they?
Yeah, I've got a Tenant one for my sins. So there we go. Says everything about me.
Rose Kirby says it would be wonderful to get a physical Blu-ray DVD with extras of the Fiveish Doctors. I would love to get my hands on that. Well, yeah, that's the good news, is that you can. I mean, it's been out before, so it's been out twice before, Rose. So it was in the original DVD and Blu-ray box set of all the 50th anniversary stuff that came out sort of in that initial period between them being screened, and I think it was that Christmas it came out. Limited edition sets. I think they were numbered. They're quite difficult to get for a while, but you can certainly still get the DVD one. And then there was the Steelbook that came out about 5 years ago, which now goes for crazy money.
Yeah.
I found out, Gary, when I went to look this up on
Yeah,
Amazon.
you know, I would love, because I remember it was about a year ago, Vanessa, one of our great Vanessa Laura, one of our great mods here, and she and I were talking in the chat one day, and she said that she had just, you know, purchased that. She got like a really good condition one used, or maybe she said she got it originally. I was so jealous because I would love to get, I mean, I have everything on it, but just that steelbook just looks so nice.
Very, very nice. It is on the iPlayer, obviously for people in Britain, or if you're overseas and have some sort of method. I don't know. I'm told that people have their ways and means and methods. So it is over there. And the tagline goes, with the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who about to film, the classic Doctors are keen to be involved, but do they manage it? And the original broadcast dates there, and that fabulous. I think that picture's sort of iconic in itself.
It is
as well. Sean. I mean, they're as themselves, but then again, they play themselves in the thing. So this kind of fits. I mean, I'd like to see this getting some sort of standalone release as well, but as it turns out, I think it's quite unlikely. There is more of these three actors together. I mean, it turns out, even though they weren't in Doctor Who together at the time, they have appeared together quite a lot, and not least of all in BBV's 30th anniversary production, The Air Zone Solution from 1993. They were in that with John Pertwee and Nicola Bryant and various other people, Alan Cumming for another one. So maybe we'll look at that at some point, because that's a real curiosity. And if you've never seen it, never heard of it, I know a lot of people haven't seen this at all. That's yeah, I think you can't quite sum that up in any sort of soundbite way. But they've known one another for a really long time. There's evidently, you can't not have not just professional respect, but there's a certain amount of love between these three guys. I got the impression, attached to this character for the best part of 40 years each, in a way that Hartnell and Troughton, and even now Pertwee, weren't. They just weren't around for long enough.
Well,
so they're kind of uniquely placed, Charlotte.
Yeah, and you can't fake friendship. And I think that's the other thing with these three. And because when you're truly friends with somebody, you can have a joke. You can sort of have those moments between you. And that energy is there throughout all of this. And that's another thread that just makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's such a unique thing. And the more you think about it, the fact that the BBC gave them a lot of freedom, clearly, and that they sort of had this playground to play with for what they did, you sort of think, well done for the BBC. And we don't usually say that a lot nowadays.
Not now.
That this was allowed, and the other thing is that it's on the iPlayer, it's been on steelbooks, it's been on Blu-rays. Like, they've not buried it, they've allowed it to keep on having this extended life. Because they could have just, once it went out on red button, right, we're not putting it on a Blu-ray, we're not putting it as an extra. Like that, they could have gone that route, but they didn't. Yeah. So that's sort of one of the few things you can say, well done BBC for doing that.
Yeah. And to their friendship, I mean, I would imagine that when you're part of a very small, exclusive brotherhood, like those three are, that will bond you together as well.
It's not going to be any surprise that Peter Davison is proud of it and plays it at those events, David, that you met him at. That's no surprise. But I get the impression that Colin and Sylvester are equally as proud of this as Peter is.
Yeah, I really do, and you can show that because you can see that because of the sort of like the energy they threw into it. And I would say even Paul McGann's quite proud of it too, because you know, they're all playful, and the line of "we've got who are we doing this for?" The fans, you know, and it's a sort of, it's of course the fans, you know, and it's just that sort of, I imagine they are immeasurably immensely proud of all their efforts. And yeah, the thing nagging in my head is it's just such a shame that it wasn't greenlit for the 60th, a sort of sequel, because it would have been amazing to see how they could have taken it forward. And that is such a sad missed opportunity, because I would have really have loved to have seen the next chapter. I mean, we're talking about obviously the flat chair, which would have been absolutely hilarious. But I would have loved to have seen how they could have taken it forward and where we would have ended up.
In a post Timeless Child, female doctor, proper social media explosion, streaming explosion, all the things that have happened to Doctor Who, you know, international co-production, everything that's rife. I think that could be the problem, that the things that were in it that are rife to be taken the piss out of, it's seen as not okay to take the piss out of anymore. And that when something has been proven to be inept and not to have worked, in the way that we've changed in British culture, is now we've become touchy about things like that. We don't like acknowledging our failings, our failures and failings in the way that we used to. I think that's, generally speaking, that's a bad thing. I've got some quotes here from Peter Davison about the proposed sequel to the Fiveish Doctors reboot that never happened. Well, firstly, I've got one from Colin. Sorry, so Colin Baker was the very first. So Colin was the very. This is why I asked you about the prior the other actors would have had in it, Luke, because Colin was the first person to speak about this to Den of Geek in 2020, and they'd asked him, "Is there going? Another anniversary is on the horizon? Will there be another Fiveish Doctors?" And Colin said, "I've spoken to Peter, Paul, and Sylvester about it, and they're all up for it. If it happened, we'd do it." So all the principal doctors and Paul, who just got the one line, but it counts, they were all up for it. Peter Davison, though, has spoken about it at some length over the last couple of years, because obviously that anniversary, it came and went. And Peter said it was deemed by those I showed it to as utterly unacceptable.
Is he talking about what we actually got for the 60th, or is he talking about his original play?
So he apparently he wrote it. He wrote one, and showed it to the relevant parties, the interested parties, the people that he had to get it through the system, to get that green light and to get it produced. And he got a couple of them. He went on to say, nobody actually asked me to do it. I hoped that after the Fiveish Doctors in 2013, somebody in some position of power would have come through and said, "Peter, have a go at the 60th." No one did. So I couldn't really go to them and go, "I've got this great idea, give me lots of money." So it didn't happen.
Can I just say, Dan and Luke, work your connection magic and please get us a copy of that script.
Yeah, I was going to say, if that leaked, I'd be so interested to see what is deemed totally unacceptable.
It makes you want to read it more, doesn't it, Luke? It makes you want to read it more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me just.
It would have been poking. I'm sure it would have been poking fun at what had happened.
Yeah, I you know what? I honestly believe that if we had got something, I just have to think, Dan, to piggyback on what you were saying a minute ago. I think the end result would have probably been so neutered and sanitized that it just wouldn't have been a patch on the first one.
No, if we can get that script, maybe we could sort of act it out and get Stephen Noonan and people who do great voices to come in. So yeah, Peter Davison says, "I did try and write something. I came up with what I thought was a pretty good idea, but I think my sense of humour is a little Well, people don't appreciate some of the jokes I put in there. That's all I can say.
And
So
all this is doing is making my need to see this script overwhelming.
It points to a definite misalignment of Davison's sense of humour and what they would now call BBC values. Charlotte, that doesn't match BBC values. I thought it was quite a funny idea, but I was advised that it wouldn't fly. Was his final word? I mean, Charlotte, a crying shame.
Oh, definitely. Just for the absolute clear comedy chops he would have been able to do. But I don't think it would have been the Jodie stuff. I honestly don't. And I'm saying that because Colin and a few of the other classic Doctors during her run were very vocal supporting it.
Yes.
So I can't see Colin, for example, being okay being in a script that would have poked fun at her. My guess, it might have just had more jokes about the BBC in general, and maybe about certain quirks that the modern series has developed throughout its run. That when the 50th was going, you could have a little bit of a fun with, oh, they always use the Sonic, or they always do that. But maybe some other slightly more cutting stuff about the modern run. And I mean just generally about writing and the Doctor and traits. But I don't think it would have been Jodie, honestly, just because of the involvement with those other actors.
We've got to get this script.
I could have imagined some gags about David Tennant coming back being in there.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, he is his son-in-law. Yeah, and the fact that why haven't they called us to be up in, why weren't we asked to come? And I imagine it like what Charlotte said, there would be some gags in there and about the BBC. And I think it was probably a little bit too close to the bone. And obviously some people somewhere obviously don't have a sense of humor anymore. There was a massive sense of humor failure, because that's probably one of the only reasons I can think of why that it sort of his humor. The thing is, they might not have appreciated his humor, but we would have done. I can absolutely guarantee that we would have appreciated Peter Davison's humor.
Can I just say that I actually think Peter Davison should work for the United Nations, because that has to be the most diplomatically worded response I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So we've been there finally to talk about the Fiveish Doctors reboot. It's possible we'll get back here again. I'm certain the topic will roll around again. It does tend to. These things do tend to happen. It's about to be re-released. Whoever that was that Rose in the live chat. Various people were asking, how can we get this, particularly if you're overseas. It's coming out again in just a few short weeks' time. So it's never been released on any American physical media format. Only available in the UK before. So people would have to import it. But obviously these sets, these Blu-ray collections, they are available all over the world, albeit with a staggered release. The Fiveish Doctors reboot is part of the Season 21 Blu-ray collection that's coming out on the 21st of March, 2026. And we'll be celebrating that in a few weeks' time in full here on Type 40 Live on our next event show. So look forward to that. And more talk of the Fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, in the past and the present as well. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've got it out of your system. I hope you've been able to quote your favourite line. If not, we'll see you in the comments with some more. That was the Fiveish Doctors reboot. What a pleasure. What a delight it is to go back there and to talk about that. Won't be the last time. You can guarantee that, because it never is.
That cursed Doctor is interfering with my plans, but I will destroy the universe. He won't be able to stop me, but you might, if you watch Type 40.
I thought that was William Shakespeare for a moment.
And GNT walking beside him then with a shirt on, the Hawaiian shirt. Jeez.
So enough of them. They're wondering why it hasn't been all about them. Maybe we'll go back to Day of the Doctor at some point in the near future as well, because it's been a while, and lots of people who are involved now weren't involved then. And I like to rewatch this. I think when I talk about the one, I like to talk about the other. It kicks up a lot of memories and more happy places. But this has been a delight, a simple delight to go back to. Yeah. In all of your company, everybody in the live chat there, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, and the esteemed panel as well this time, including Charlotte Shields. Have you enjoyed yourself, Charlotte? We finally did it.
Well, when you were like, "Oh, we're running late," I was just like, "Oh, I'm not joking." In my head, I was like, "Oh, I want to be here for the full discussion," so I'm very happy.
Yay!
We've made it. We've made it through. Because understandably, the stuff that means the most to a community within a community, it's gonna bring out lots more memories of particularly heady times. And of course, there's never a final time to talk about any of this, is there, Charlotte? But what's your parting thought on this one?
I'm just very happy that the Doctors that at one point probably thought they weren't going to get their day in the sun for that 50th got the most probably brilliant showcase they could get. Mm-hmm. That it didn't have to sort of fit into a plot. It didn't have to fit into what Moffat had already planned. They could just be allowed to run around, cause chaos for a little bit, and then let it be about them. So that's what I've always enjoyed about the 50th. And that the show was flexible, and it allowed that to happen at that point. Because now
there's flexible, Charlotte, and there's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, just to finish, because I do have to go, the fact that nowadays everything feels so planned, doesn't it? And so set out, and things have to be a certain way.
For the sake of argument, okay.
But this was just a bit of chaos, and that's what I think Doctor Who, when it's allowed to have controlled chaos, it works. But I do have to go. It's been lovely to chat with you all.
Good night, Charlotte. Good night. And if you'd like to have your say about the Fiveish Doctors reboot and any of the things that we've talked about on this edition of Type 40 Live, you can do just that. You can come and say hello, or anything else you like. Quote your favourite line too there in the usual places. Our social medias, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who. Come and join us in the Type 40 Facebook group as well. We'll be launching a proper thread where you can post all of your favourite quotes and your experiences there, watching it back in 2013, or if you found it later on, and keeping tabs on how you can get it now, where you can watch it. There'll be a link in the description directly to the iPlayer to take you right there, because that thing's not as easy to navigate as I think they'd like you to believe. And if you want to suggest any further event shows, special stories to go back to, whether it's within the real Whoniverse or extraneous stuff like this, you can do that. Send your suggestions to us via SpeakPipe. The link is in the description. Nothing connected with Doctor Who is off limits, the past, the present, or indeed the future. And you can bet we'll be as vigilant as ever to whatever's coming next. Wherever it's going to turn up, get more of us in your ears through the Type 40 podcast as ever. All major podcatchers there, so Spotify, Audible, Apple, and Amazon. We're everywhere. Get us in your ears with a mix of reviews, previews, interviews, geek outs, and deep dives. More of that on the way very, very soon. And I think, wow, what have we covered in the last 2.5 hours? We nearly managed to hang on to Charlotte throughout all of the Big Who this time. So we went to the BAFTAs there for a little while. We've done our deep dive event on the Fiveish Doctors reboot. We kind of went back to the experience. I thought we'd talk about more about that. We didn't. We'll talk more about that another time. And we looked at the latest from Reddit as well on this edition of Type 40 Live, the Big Who, with you here every Thursday from 7:30 p.m. We've talked about so much, I can't remember barely anything that we've said, David. I'm going to have to ask you about it And you can fill in the blanks with whatever I've forgotten, or have the various painkillers, if they affected your memory. Will you remember any of this tomorrow? And if you don't, I suppose you can go back and watch it again, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I'll just not watch it because I can't. I don't like watching myself. So back or really listening to myself. So I'll just turn it down whenever I speak. But yes, I've had a wonderful time tonight. Thank you so much. And it just proves that you can have pain first thing in the day, and then absolute joy and a wonderful time later. So you've got to have a little bit of darkness to appreciate the light. So
you know what, David? That's so true. I actually, when I think about streaming with Luke, I was
waiting for that. I was waiting for that.
No, I know you do, Gary, because you've been in my messages all week saying, "Oh no, I've got to share time with the Welsh one again later." So
I don't say that.
You've even said to me that you dread that time.
He's
with
stirring.
Luke more than
Luke,
you
now he's stirring now.
You said you dread that time with Luke more than you dread Starfleet Academy.
I don't say that.
I actually believe that, David.
He's stirring.
Gary,
don't believe him. That's not true.
He did say that. But no, I'm away next week in the Canary. I'm away next week in the Canary Islands. So have a lovely time next Thursday, and thank you for tonight.
I'll spread false rumors about you next week then, since you won't be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you a picture of me with a pina colada.
I'm glad you said pina colada. Jesus.
I was wondering. Thank you, David. Luke, 2013 doesn't seem that long ago to me, but then again, I'm very much approaching that age. It seems like a handful of heartbeats ago. But does it seem like a long time ago to you? And how have you felt this revisiting? It's just 31 minutes worth of material, and yet there's so much to say about it.
Yeah, it's shocking. I remember 2013 hazily like it was yesterday, and it's like, oh, that was 13 odd years ago. It's terrifying now. They say that when you get older, time goes a lot quicker, and that's
true.
It's true. Yeah, it's scientifically proven somehow as well, which is bizarre. So yeah, it literally feels like 10 minutes ago. It's so bizarre. And fun fact, I don't know if I should say. Yeah, go on. Because you're talking about the Doctor Who experience. If you dig around fairly deep enough, there was a little video, an article of the first day it was opened.
Right.
And the third in line in the video, you'll spot a certain someone with his Justin Bieber-esque haircut from when it opened. So I'll just leave it at that. Just leave it at that. So, in a Welsh rugby shirt, oddly enough.
You had a Justin Bieber haircut?
Oh my god, I looked like the Beatles / Justin.
What do you mean,
Bieber. I used to. I've not shaved my head, Gary.
I can't. I've only ever seen about 3 pictures of Justin Bieber, so I can't remember what he looked like. But now you've got me wondering, Luke. I have to say, we're gonna have to. You have to send us the link.
I'll see if I can find him. See if I can find me with that haircut. Oh my god!
And obviously,
you can get a still of it.
All our love back
it
to
does exist.
2013. I mean, what went wrong? Heaven only knows. Well, we all know what went wrong, don't we? But I think it's unhealthy to fixate on it for too long. It's not really what we do here at Type 40 Live. I think there's a time and a place. But if you want to hit us with more rants and raves, obviously, all opinions are always welcome here. You know that. And there'll be lots more coming next time. You can bank on it. So please like this video. You can unlike it if you like or dislike it. I don't mind. It all counts. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you would. Check you're still subscribed and smash that cloister bell to get all the notifications about what's coming next. More event shows throughout 2026. Yes, Doctor Who itself may be on sleep mode, but we're never on sleep mode here at Type 40 Live. So make sure you're notified. There's more coming up. No party lines, no beef, no bullshit. Just more rants and raves, and every opinion under the sun is welcome. What a show. I've had a brilliant time. I had a brilliant time watching the Fiveish Doctors reboot. Happily, it wasn't a cringe fest. It was just as funny and just as cozy as I'd remembered it. And yet, how brilliant to go back to something and to know that...
What is that?
Jesus
Christ,
my
God.
What is that?
Did someone pay you to have that haircut? Is that a William Shatner syrup that you're wearing?
That needs to be your icon, Luke.
Not even.
I am an icon, Gary. Okay?
Yes, that's a given. But I mean, your little YouTube little circle for when you're not on screen.
Absolutely not.
Not even Shatner had a bad enough syrup like that. I'll tell you.
Awful.
You can. Hey, Luke. You know what? With that, show that picture again.
No. Absolutely not.
With a look like that, you would fit perfectly in on Starfleet Academy.
I bet I would. Yeah, I bet I would.
Cadet Walters transporting in.
That's right.
Why do I do this? Well, I didn't have to do that. I could have waited until the stream was finished and showed you privately. Why is that now on the internet forever? What am I doing?
Shameless.
Blame you, Gary.
Absolutely shameless. We have been the Fiveish panelists rebooted. Have we been rebooted? David's definitely been. He's been rerouted on this very day. But I think we're all off for a lie down. Now, we need to recover really from Luke's haircut, if nothing else. Make sure to see you next time. But yeah, that's it, Gary. Look, we always have the time. If you have the place here at Type 40 Live, we will see you next time with some more of this and that, and doubtless the other. Enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.